Welcome to Epic Trash, the epic gaming show about all things trash.
We're back.
And gaming. We're back. I'm here with my co-host, Tank and Heels. Got Chris Crow. I'm your host, Bruce. Please hit us up at Twitter at Epic Trash Show, at the email epictrash@groupmail.com, and we have Discord now. So check the link in the description for the invite for that. Oh, we have a bunch of admins. No, we have one.
Oh, okay.
And then all of us.
Oh.
So come join. We're ready to chat.
Do we have Discord up right now while we're here? Oh, I guess it wouldn't matter.
I guess.
But we could do it like live. We could tell people that we're recording and what we're talking about.
Yeah, that
Could do that.
we'll leave that up and Twitch chat. We're working on getting Twitch going, so soon we'll be streaming live. Right at you through the power of the internet. Anyways, please sub. We're on the YouTubes. And as always, the timestamps for all the sections will be in the description. So, into the news. First up, we got some controversy.
Oh yeah.
Tell us about it.
All right. Well, there's two controversial stories going on that I really wanted to talk about. Well, one more than the other, but the first one involves Borderlands 3, which was announced early this month, and it was given an official release date, which is September 13th, and everything seemed pretty good for the most part. Everybody was kind of excited, but then there was also the problem of it having a 6-month exclusivity deal on the Epic Game Store, and if you follow PC gaming these days, nobody wants to be involved with the Epic Game Store as customers. Apparently, like it's
Nobody.
Well, every time there's some kind of exclusivity thing, there's always an outrage about it. So
Right.
but like it's not without its reasons because.
Well, yeah, exclusivity is shitty. Nobody.
Well, it's
likes
not.
that.
Well, it's not just the exclusivity thing. It's that not too long ago, the Epic Game Store had an issue with their security, and millions of Fortnite accounts were pretty much invaded.
Yeah.
There was a big issue there where you could log into someone's Fortnite account with no password, use their credit card information, listen in on the chats, and it was just. It was pretty shady. I mean, they fixed it. They fixed it by January, so technically it's not a problem anymore. But it's a matter of reputation, and like it took a long time for the Sony to get their reputation back when the PSN had their problems.
It was hacked for like a week straight.
Yeah, and
The PlayStation Network?
yeah, and the network was
At
like
Christmas
down.
time.
It was a lot. The one like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
It was like
yeah.
a month.
It was down for a long time.
Yeah,
it was
long time.
Because I remember that's all I was.
Because they were trying
Yeah.
to trying to fix like everything that was wrong with it. Like they practically had to revamp their network. So that was a long process. So that was a lot of people are kind of like they're not too happy with the Epic Game Store for that reason. On the other hand, the developers are happy with it because they have a much better deal when it comes to the developer end of it.
Yeah.
So like as you know, like the Epic Game Store only charges like 5%.
Right.
And Steam Store charges like 30%.
Yeah.
So, the developers make more money off of their games through
Right.
the Epic Game Store. Which,
Right. This
So
is
you
why
can
they're
kind of
doing it.
understand why the developers want the exclusivity deals with them.
Yeah.
But it's also coming out on consoles on the same date of September 13th. So, there's that for the console players, which I'll probably get it when it comes out because I played the first two and they were really good.
Right.
And
I mean, I get exclusivity is kind of crap, but like at the same time, like this is two competing launchers, which are both free.
Yeah.
So like, boo frickin' who, you gotta install another piece of software on your computer. I get that it's crappy. Nobody liked Origin when it came out because EA's bad.
Yeah.
And nobody liked, what was the other one? I don't know.
Ubisoft's.
Yeah, Uplay.
Yeah.
Like, nobody liked that because it's like another launcher and everybody was jumping on it. But these people are actually coming out with exclusives and they're making it worthwhile for the developers. And they seem to be the first ones that actually have a shot at going head to head against Steam.
Yeah, and
That said, Steam has like 10 years of development behind it, so they have all these features, and Epic's coming in like.
Well, that's
know?
that's the funny thing about it is that like Steam hasn't had any legitimate competition in a long time. So like they've been kind of monopolizing the PC game launcher system for a long time. So like maybe now this will get Steam to kind of realize that they can't get away with charging 30%.
Right. If nothing else, at least wake up.
Yeah,
you need to actually
change some things, and they just had that controversy with the Rape Day game.
Yeah.
So there was that, and
right.
and also the real controversy though isn't even about the exclusivity stuff. It's about the aftermath of that with Randy Pitchford.
Right.
Because he apparently had this big argument with a bunch of people on Twitter.
Yeah.
And all the PC gamers were like, "Why are you making this an exclusive on Epic Game Store? Like none of us PC players want this exclusive.
Gamers rise up."
Steam and so on. And Randy Pitchford really came back with some pretty snide remarks about it, and he wasn't really thrilled with the backlash.
Well, they were review bombing his game, weren't they?
Yeah, and that was the other part of the controversy. The Steam review bombs that took place after the announcement of the exclusivity deal, and Randy pretty much came out and said we don't really have anything to do with that as the developers, that's on 2K.
Right.
And so he was kind of trying to defend it, but I don't know. It's just a mess, and Randy Pitchford is in all honesty not really the guy to take up the gripe with, because he really isn't in control of where it releases and what deals that they make with what distributors. You know? That's not their job. Their job is to build the game.
Yeah.
And get it done by a certain date. And they've done that. So why go after Randy? What's he gonna do? He's not gonna be able to call up freaking what's his name at Steam and call the head of 2K and be like, hey, let's just drop this deal and lose all this money.
Right.
So it is what it is. The game is coming out though in September, so I'm gonna get it probably regardless. The first two were good. The third one looks good.
Did you guys see the BO3 review, or not the launch that they had?
The trailer?
At I think it was South by Southwest or one of the cons that came out this year. It was a shit show.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
Saw that? I think I sent that to you.
That was
I don't
a
know if
mess.
you saw it.
I don't think so.
Yeah, it was
That was a mess.
they tried to launch the trailer.
It's like they were trying to play it on a Windows 98 machine or something, man. It was bad.
It was 5 frames per second, and they just kept replaying it over and over again.
Yeah.
So it's on top of that, now they're getting review bombed on Steam because people don't want to deal with the Epic launcher, and he's like, it's funny because there is no review bombing on Epic, and you're kind of proving my point here.
Yeah.
It's why would I go on a platform where people can, this game had awesome reviews, and now it's got reviews in the toilet because of a game that's not even associated with it.
Yeah. I wonder how much it'll actually affect the sales, but I guess if people band together, you know what I mean?
Gamers rise up!
Yeah, if people really band together, but I think a lot of the hardcore fans of Borderlands, are still going to get it.
Right.
I don't think because of how they're talking about the game and the ideas and concepts that they're going to go with.
Right.
And I think they're going to try and go away from what they did in the pre-sequel, which is not. I think most people who are Borderlands fans were not happy about the real Borderlands 3, the pre-sequel thing or whatever.
Oh, okay.
There was 1 and 2, and then there was
the Handsome Jack collection.
The Handsome Jack thing, and people weren't really that happy about it.
Right, and then there was that Telltale game, the Tales from the Borderlands, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I know Steam to try and fix the review bombs. They had it set up where it's there's the recent reviews and then there's the overall reviews. So if review bombs come in, usually you can see that because the recent reviews are terrible and the overall is huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But because I think it's a new game, that doesn't help at all with this. So
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, I'd be interested to see how.
Well, I think there'll probably be some more things that come out leading up to the release.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
He's probably going to come out and say something, or the publishers or 2K is going to come out and say something, or you know what I mean? Maybe they'll jump back and then put it on Steam.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But I don't see why they wouldn't, because like you said earlier,
It's definitely going to be on Steam. They said it was a 6-month.
Yeah.
I can't say the word exclusivity. I think that's it.
Oh, so then after 6 months it'll go to Steam.
Yeah.
But I don't see the big issue, because like you said earlier, Crow, it's like the Epic store or whatever is going to be, it's like 5%, and then it's
15.
like 15.
Yep.
Oh, I thought you said 5.
I think it's 5. I'm pretty sure it's 5.
It's
Somebody
15
fact check.
versus 30. I'll double check right now.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like the difference between a 5 or 15% versus 30.
Yeah.
And like you said, like growing another service to compete with Steam. I'm sure that they're potentially giving more kickbacks, the Epic Store, to like AAA games that are going to come out. You know what I mean? Because that really it's going to help the Epic Game Store as well as helping Borderlands and 2K and
Yeah, because
you know
they'll probably, even at their lower.
because they have, well, think about it, they have to be giving incentives, the Epic Game Store, for AAA developers to release exclusively on the Epic Store. It's like, why wouldn't they? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They might not. They're probably going to write up a contract, and it might not be like that standard 5 or 15%
Yeah,
cut that they're going to take.
It's 12%.
12.
Oh, 12.
And they're waiving the 5% engine royalty for sales on Epic Game Store.
Oh, okay.
So I think you have to pay for Unreal Engine, another
Yeah.
5% on top.
Yeah.
So it's instead of 30% plus potentially that extra 5%, they're getting
It's gonna be
12%
12.
cut, so they make 88%.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a lot of incentive right there for anybody to go to Epic. And it's like, you know what, if
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's like finally some actual competition. I
'Cause, yeah, I
understand
don't
it
think
sucks. You got to download a launcher that's not, because none of your friends from Steam are
but
going to see you
how
there.
much space does the launcher take up anyway?
Yeah, it's not huge.
Yeah.
Plus, I know that you can actually dump. If you really were worried about your friends seeing you play a game online, you could put the launcher in Steam as like a third-party app, and then launch it through there, and then your friends will see you there and can talk to you anyway. So.
I don't see it being like a huge issue in a year or two.
Right.
You know what I mean?
People just don't like change. I think that's what
Yeah.
it is, and it.
Well, that's
is
the
making
thing.
it-
I didn't like to download all the different launchers like when I played Blackout and then Apex and what was the other launcher we were talking about?
There was Origin
for Apex.
Anthem.
Oh, well, I only have the Origin for Apex because that's the EA one.
It is.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay.
Yeah,
Yep,
because
fair
there
enough.
was a different one for the Blizzard. Remember the
Yep, and there's a Blizzard
Blackout
launch
had
too.
the Blizzard launcher, but
Yeah.
I got it for Blackout, but then I got rid of it.
Yeah.
Because it's like I don't need this on my desktop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not gonna play Blackout, so
Right.
maybe now that's gonna be free, but we'll talk about it later.
Yeah. I'll talk about that a little bit later.
So yeah, so that was a pretty fascinating controversy I read about, and it's not the only one.
Full of controversy.
Unfortunately, and
Drama.
I'm coming at this one as a longtime fan of the franchise.
Yeah.
Because I've been playing Mortal Kombat since Mortal Kombat 2,
Mhm.
and I love the games. I've always loved the games. I've bought every major title since like Super Nintendo days,
Mhm.
and so the controversy surrounding it is that they've essentially desexualized their female fighters by covering them up more and making them like less,
Busty.
Voluptuous.
Yeah.
and so like
Have they though? Because you've seen a
No,
lot
they
of
have.
all the reveals.
They have. They totally have. I've
Yeah.
seen all the reveals, and like there is a point to it that could easily be made if you compare the female fighters of today versus the ones from even just MK9, like just 2 titles ago.
Right.
Yeah.
The MK9 character designs, like they were much more busty. They had more curves, and they were quite a bit more exposed. And like
We can't have toxic masculinity running rampant here, guys. Gotta tone it down.
The thing is, like, and the funny thing is that I actually like all the new designs I've seen for the female characters. I really do. Like, they look kind of cool to me.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really bug me on a personal level. What bugs me is their rationale behind it. And it's like this. It's like they're trying to appeal to this market that's not really there, because like their whole market was built on controversy.
Right.
Like their entire base was like, they essentially created the ESRB.
Right.
They
They didn't create it. It came about because of the outrage that
Yeah,
spawned.
exactly.
I don't think they have a problem with violence. I don't think they have a problem like arguing with violence.
Yeah.
But I don't think they want to get into.
That's not the hill they want to die on.
Right. Well, I think the gender thing and making everybody happy, because I think that must be the basis of their argument.
But let's be
right?
But here's the
realistic.
catch.
Yeah.
Here's the catch. Now let me just explain the rest of it, because one of the lead designer, I believe it is, the art director, came out and said, quote, "Our character lead, Brendan George, has been a breath of fresh air of just introducing new ideas. Our design is just getting more mature and respectful. You're not going to wear a bikini to a fight. You're not going to be showing so much skin. I think it's just what the game is about. You're going into a fight for your life, and you're not going to be wearing such scantily clad items. Now, here's the reason why that makes absolutely no sense and is completely absurd.
Okay. Tell me.
The male characters are not changed at all. They're all still like mostly without shirts and like still like mega jacked and huge and just as shapely as they've always been. They haven't changed whatsoever for the males. It's only the female characters who are changed. They've already confirmed that the male characters are getting their classic costumes from like Mortal Kombat 3. Not the women though, because those are too revealing. So they're not going to release the classic costumes for them.
That's weird. Yeah.
And so like they're making like
That's a good counterpoint.
They're making all these like double standard kind of like weird excuses to like
I guess the only
change half of the
I think
characters.
but you know what, in that sense, like you said with the costumes, they should definitely put out the other costumes, but you know what they should do is make it a microtransaction.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Watch them come out with it after the fact and just slip it in
I think
under the radar as
I could be wrong about this, but I think that that they've already confirmed that they're not going to release them, no matter what.
That's what they say.
Well,
They're
they
under
could
no
confirm- they could-
contractual obligation.
I mean,
not to do that.
Dead or Alive, the latest Dead or Alive did that.
Well, they also said they were going to tone it down, and
But
They
but,
did.
Yeah,
But
that's what I
here's
was
the
thinking
thing,
when
like-
we first started talking about this Dead or Alive.
Yeah.
Like that's where my mind went.
it's just that like, you know, I don't know why they're doing this now. And like the other argument that they had was like, oh, we're trying to get it more realistic.
right.
But it's freaking Mortal Kombat. Like
Right, you're ripping
none of it
people's
is
spines
realistic.
out, right.
Like and they even
Yeah.
said like one of the other designers was saying like, oh well, the fatalities are really unrealistic. So
Yeah.
like you have one guy saying like, well, this huge portion of the game that everybody knows about fatalities.
Yeah.
It's a very specific thing in Mortal Kombat. Is not realistic, but then you're changing the characters to make them more realistic, except not the male characters because reasons and so on and so forth. And it's just a big mess.
Do we know what the studio NetherRealms is? That American?
Yeah.
No, it is.
Yeah, they were under Midway.
That's why, because the American standard is a lot like because what's the other one? We were just said it.
What
The other game that we were just talking about, where your mind went.
Oh, Dead or Alive?
Yeah, Dead or Alive. Like they're a Japanese company,
Yeah.
and the culture is way different over
Yeah.
there than it is here. So it makes sense that this would be because they died on the hill for violence,
Yeah.
and Dead or Alive is on their sex hill over there, and we're
Yeah.
on the violent hill over here. So I think
I think
I don't know if that's a war they wanna fight.
That's I think the battle or the debates that they're trying to avoid. But but by doing that too, they're also starting discussion or
it's
they're making
controversy no matter what.
But
you
here's
do.
but like as a fan of the franchise from the get go, like this is typically how things tend to go when franchises that have been around a long time start to do things like this. Is
Yeah.
like the same thing. A very similar thing has happened with Marvel Comics. Like comic
Right.
sales have decreased 6% year over year for the last like 3 years.
Right.
I don't mean to get into comics, but it's
Right.
relevant because it's like it touches on the same
Sure.
themes here.
Yeah.
So like what happens is, they start to try to like they change stuff that's been as it is, that's been successful, a successful business model that's been going on for years that everybody loves, that the fan base is really into. They'll change around and say like, oh well, we don't want to get into any controversy. We're going to change this and try to expand our fan group or our customer base. And then all that does is just alienate the longtime customers. They leave, and
Yeah.
the new customers aren't coming because they've never been interested in Mortal Kombat from the get-go.
Right.
And changing a few character models is not going to suddenly have an influx of like new customers. Like
Right.
that's not how it works. So like if they really want to like kill off the franchise, they're doing a great job of it at this point. Like this is where it kind of starts in that process. And I'm not saying that like Mortal Kombat 11 is going to fail, and I'm not saying I'm not going to buy it because like as I said, I personally kind of like the new female character designs.
Right.
I like the new costumes and the way they look.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like stuff like the excuses that they're making just doesn't add up. And I'd
Right.
rather they just be honest with it
Right.
instead of trying to say stuff like this. And the other thing too is that like if you're going to say like, you're going to go into a fight for your life and you're not going to be wearing such scantily clad items. Okay, look at professional female fighters. What are they wearing?
Right.
Stuff head to toe? No, they're not.
Right.
They're wearing like basically a sports bra and briefs
Right.
and gloves.
Yeah.
So they're wearing very little, just like male fighters do. Like
Right,
it
you
just
want to
doesn't
be
make any sense.
unhindered when you're in the fight.
Yeah, you want to be maneuverable. You want to be able to move around. If you want to be realistic in another realm, then that's how you do it. Like, look at the real female fighters.
Right.
Base it off of that.
That's what makes me think of like is the first Sonya Blade like costume or whatever with like was it with the green.
Yeah, she
Like
had a sports
singlet.
bra on, but like she had like,
Like
basically
green
yoga
tights.
pants on,
Yeah.
and like and that was, but at the time like that was a little bit
Yeah. But
scantily
that's
clad.
what a person would wear to a fight, though, is
Yeah.
is something that somebody can't grab onto. Because I think
Yeah.
that's like what they teach a lot in martial arts is like, if people have loose fitting clothes, like use it to your advantage. Like if you can grab
Exactly,
a shirt
yeah.
and twist them around, or like like hockey players would pull it over their head.
And that's
Yeah,
why-
not to get
and-
into like
And that's why that's like kind of the theme that most of the fighters are generally based around. Like there's some exceptions, but like the ninjas and stuff like that, they don't wear a lot of loose fitting stuff, and they look like
ninjas
ninjas.
also kill people and they're not seen.
Yeah, but
We all saw Ninja Assassin.
on a brighter note, and regarding MK11 though, the rest of the game is looking good. They did come out with official roster updates saying that Katana is coming back, so that's great because Katana was a lot of fun in the last game. Aaron Black is coming back as well. He was a favorite from the last game. Kotal Khan is coming back. I've gone over the list like a couple weeks ago, and but like Katana was the newest confirmed addition, so she's for sure coming back.
Nice.
So like the game generally speaking is looking really good. It's just this part that is like really
I
frustrating.
think they
to
should
me.
bring all the costumes back and make them microtransactions.
Yeah.
Like, why would you not?
Well,
at this
they're-
point?
they're-
especially like with all this controversy and stuff. It's like you're definitely going to make money,
The
Right.
thing
You know what I mean?
about it is though is that like
but don't change the base of the character model. Like, if somebody is like I guess like a B cup or something,
Right.
Like, don't make their classic outfit and then make them like a fucking D,
Right.
Yeah.
You know, or something like
Yeah.
I don't know.
well that's the thing about it. too,
Leave
is
that to the modders on PC.
that's the thing about it
well,
too.
that's
is
what's
like,
going to happen. Is people are just going to mod.
It
happens
probably wouldn't have been nearly as much of a controversial issue if it weren't for like if they had made it so that like not all the female fighters basically had the same physique overall, because they all look like they had the same base character model for their body.
Right.
So like none of them really look super different. But on the other hand, Kano is super jacked while Liu Kang is a little bit leaner.
Yeah.
So like the male fighters do have some variety in their actual physique, whereas like the female fighters, like I mean, and you can say that you can say that for the past games too, because like a lot of the previous games did that as well, where like they would kind of copy paste the physiques of the fighters and stuff.
Right.
But there's just a lack of individuality with the female fighters.
That's what it made me think. They should have a more like diverse, I guess, body type for females, just like males. Because even with a lot of fighters, there's usually like really big. Like I don't play a lot of Mortal Kombat, so I'm just thinking like Street Fighter is like look at all the different like body types, like Zangief, and then like Blanca, Ryu, Ken,
Yeah.
and then like even like Birdie, and like who was the one Raiden. Raiden was like really big and chubby, but it's like Zangief's like huge and jacked. Then like Ryu and Ken are kind of average, and like Blanca's like a hunched over,
Yeah.
But then E Honda is like kind of bigger guy. They should make like females have the same diverse body types. Aside from, I think mostly we see kind of like the tomboy female, or we see super bust.
Right.
Yeah, well, I mean, the super bust thing is gone though completely.
Yeah.
So
Right.
like, and that's part of the issue is like where because like what did they all get boob reductions? Like what happened? And like you have to wonder.
Right.
And
Maybe they'll address it in some of the story.
maybe I don't know. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
But the in closing this out though, it would be I had a solid point that I was going to make right at the end here.
Yeah.
And it's just gone.
It's just gone.
Diverse body types.
I wonder if the hitboxes are going to change, like, if that
Yeah,
makes any
probably.
difference in fighting
Yeah,
games.
because there's going to be
Like-
zoning and reach for different players.
There's
and
going to be
stuff.
a
There
lot
should
more zoning and like mid-level or like mid-distance fighting in this one.
Yeah. They changed the combos at all? Or?
Yeah, I think their focus is going like a little bit less combo heavy and a little bit more like interacting with the character's special abilities.
Gotcha.
And using that in conjunction with like the fewer combos. But there's also like much more variations to the fighting styles. So like you can like even customize your own variation.
Yeah.
So you can give them their own like specific to you. Like you can play it however you really want to at that point.
Gotcha.
So you can put in your own combos, your own specials for this variation of like Noob Saibot, for example.
Right.
And so like, and people are really enjoying that system, which it's a creative way to do it. The one thing I was going to say though was that same thing with when it comes to like a variety in body types is like have a variety in costume design as well. And if they had done that, instead of making it so obvious from the get-go that like they were clearly changing things around, probably wouldn't have been any of this.
A lot of the characters in MK, aside from like or versus other fighting games, a lot of the characters had a lot of similar costumes, like Scorpion.
The ninjas for sure.
Yeah, but then even a lot of the females, I think, had.
Well,
earlier.
The females, the female fighters were essentially like female ninjas.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and that's
so
what
like,
I mean.
there was like Jade Katana, Melina, and off the top of my head, there was female Chameleon, and they were just palette swaps. Like the ninjas were all palette swaps in the early days.
Yeah.
But they've made a point over the years to like make them.
Yeah.
Despite being like. Previously being palette swaps, they're making them more of a like unique
individual.
Each one of them. Like Noob Saibot in the new one looks freaking nasty.
Yeah.
Like he looks like just a black shadow in the past games, like especially the old ones. But like in the new one, he looks like the Grim Reaper, and he's got like this hood and stuff, and he's got this sickle that's like actually in his back. He has to pull it out of his back to use it as a weapon.
Right.
So it's like stuck in his back, and he like it's brutal.
Nice.
So there's definitely a lot. They've kept a lot of the brutality. So there's that at least.
Hooray!
Yeah. So there's a lot of controversy there with America.
Just keeps rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing I was going to talk about it's kind of controversy, but it's definitely controversial in India, and I don't know if this is part of their country, the UAE. I think it's a separate country.
India? Subscribe to PewDiePie.
Subscribe to PewDiePie.
And,
can't let T-Series win. He's still on top.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh,
they won for a bit. He's like a $500,000 over.
Congratulations!
Anyways, continuing on with the controversy.
Yeah, basically in India, people are trying to ban PUBG because people have been dying and
for playing too much.
No, so the two big reported stories were there was a 16-year-old boy who committed suicide after his dad reprimanded him because he was supposed to be studying, I guess, for like an exam, but he was just like binging out on PUBG. And then in another area, I don't think it was like the same city, but another area close to that, I guess two guys got hit by a train because they were playing the PUBG mobile like on a train track or something. And then but their big base is people over there are saying that it's addictive. It's a psychological disturbance. It's desensitizing emotions. I mean, the big thing is, and even in China, it's banned. There's a digital ban if you're 13 years or younger, or it might be you have 13 years or
China had that problem with World of Warcraft years ago.
Yeah, and so, but it's just kind of like interesting to see. And like I was saying, so there's different groups and organizations that are like pushing for a ban, and there's
but it's just PUBG.
I guess right now it's PUBG, and I think potentially it's like the battle. I think they're going after the battle royale genre, but I think right now they're sticking to PUBG, and so that was kind of just like something that I wanted to bring up. And I think even in India, I think it's kind of a cultural norm issue because. Like parents want their children to be focusing on school and I guess vocational things instead of playing, video games. But I think the big argument, and it's something we talked about before, is kind of like addicting games. And I think like because of the way that the battle royale, what makes the battle royale format successful is because it has like that high replayability value, and it has those like I guess addicting concepts in it to keep players playing game after game.
Right.
And so I kind of just wanted to, bring the story up and then see what you guys thought about banning games. Obviously, the big issue is kind of like freedom, versus.
I definitely think we should ban pretty much all video games. I think they're a scourge on society, and they should just be gone.
Well,
Back
no, but
in
what
my
do you
day, we used to read books.
But I mean, what do you think? What do you think about them banning in India, though?
I think it's BS. I think they're just looking for a scapegoat, like always. They find something that that they don't understand, and that they want to just, it was Marilyn Manson. At first, the scary music, it was Led Zeppelin, it was Elvis before that, and now video games are a thing, and it was the Mortal Kombat, and then the ESRB was made, and
so that ties.
Yeah, it's like it constantly they're always looking to point the finger and scapegoat it, and I think that's just another case of that. Especially like PUBG is like, I understand it's like a game that can be addictive, but of the addicting games out there, that one doesn't really have that many. Like, other than the loot crates, it really doesn't have anything that's proven to be an addicting quality.
I think though the format of the game, I think itself, to me, seems addicting. Because I've logged a lot. I should check. But I think I've logged like 400 hours or something, which is ridiculous.
Well, I mean, that just goes to show that it's scratching some sort of itch.
Yeah.
That and I've come to my recent revelation on the subject matter is basically that if that's the case, it's probably tapping into some sort of primal. It's almost like a natural. That's how we play, because it helps us grow as individuals in one way or another.
Right.
And I understand that Pona Noobs is not necessarily a life skill that you need, but if you have to play, if it's any kind of team game,
it makes you feel better. I mean, definitely. Like I noticed because PUBG was the first battle royale played. I know they had H1Z1, which was like pretty popular before that. But I remember like when I first started to get into PUBG, I was like. It was really hard to stop. And I would always stay up and play like that.
Because it's just one more game, right?
I would always stay and play that one more game, and then that's something that was.
And I'm on a winning streak. I can't stop now. Oh, I just died. I can't leave on a bad note.
In other parts of the world too. Recently, I don't know if you heard about this, but I saw the headline for this. I want to look it up because it's topical to what we're discussing here.
Yeah.
But Prince Harry in West London, he was at an event at a YMCA, and he was saying that Fortnite should be banned outright.
Oh, I heard that. Yeah.
And he said that game shouldn't be allowed. Where's the benefit of having it in your household? It's created to addict, an addiction to keep you in front of a computer for as long as possible. It's so irresponsible.
Yeah. That's because he's not good at it.
It could be. Get good, Prince Harry.
Yeah.
Get good.
Has he streamed with Ninja?
Right, exactly. He's just jealous he didn't get to stream with Ninja because he's a prince. And it's like, and while we're at it, speaking of things that are completely useless to society, how about this entire royalty that's just upheld as a symbol of society? Does it actually serve any kind of purpose to society there? Who are you, Prince Harry? Who are you?
Yeah.
Oh man.
I think reeling it back to the PUBG though, I think that was like
Leave your hate in the comments.
Yeah, I think that was the big issue. But it's like, I mean, it's kind of like a lot of games, and the argument for people to ban them is it's linking success to killing.
I think that there are some games that probably are designed with the intent to reel in, the player base in it.
Yeah, I think it's like it's almost like every advertising company, like they'll sit around and they'll pay people to do.
Where was the outrage when Doom came out then?
I'm sure there was.
Or Call of Duty, the first multiplayer game that really took off.
Came out because remember they were all the Marines were using Doom in their training, in their like basic training or something, like shortly after they were training Marines.
Right.
And one of the ways they were doing it was having them play Doom.
Yeah.
In some kind of training room. But it was supposed to. It was also, but that was the big thing, is they were using it to train soldiers. They were using violent video games, and they actually showed, there was a study where it was a percent of, I think like riflemen or something in Vietnam versus like people Or well, I guess this was a little bit different, but it was the same idea because like riflemen in World War II, I guess they were like I don't remember the actual figures, but it was like 30% of them were like completely willing to shoot an enemy soldier,
Right.
and which is like not very good statistics. But they were like 30% of them were perfectly comfortable in pulling the trigger on another soldier,
Right.
and then after that they started implementing during their training, their like rifleman training, instead of having paper like targets that were just circles, they had targets that were shaped like bodies.
Right.
And then they kind of used the same tests during soldiers in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And then they were like 90% more likely
Right,
to be okay with it.
Right,
And then,
that's
and
what
then
they
so
trained
like,
with.
Yeah, and then so like even so that's like taking it one step further.
Honestly-
and having people play video games, and actually it makes them more okay
Right.
with killing or more okay with shooting, because that was the big thing was. Okay, it's one thing to shoot at a circular target.
Sure.
And then it's another thing to shoot at a target that looks like a human.
Right.
And then obviously leading up to soldiers in battle shooting.
Honestly, having played shooters my entire life and being most of the evolution of gaming, I don't think graphics matter. For me personally, subjectively,
Yeah.
graphics don't matter in how much I get desensitized to anything. But I think if there was ever a time I would want to be cautious about the stuff that everyone's always throwing their hands in the air and pointing the finger at, would be when it comes to VR, because that gives you this sense of presence, and it gives you a sense of empathy that has never been like far and away much larger jump than any kind of graphical resolution you could do. Once it's not flat anymore, you're there.
Yeah.
There's empathy. So killing in that, I would want testing to be done.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say
I
stop,
bet
but
they
I'd want testing like ASAP to try and figure that out, because I feel
I
like
bet they
if there was ever
use-
harm, that would be it.
I bet they use stuff like that in military training. I bet
They
they
do.
use VR.
In fact,
sure.
there's actually VR torture rooms that they have now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's terrific. They had there's a bed that is at 30 degrees that you can't sleep on comfortably because you'll fall off.
Yeah.
The ground is made of bricks they're all like flat, but there's a few that are staggered and raised up, so you can't walk forward. Like it keeps you in a way that you can only move backwards comfortably.
Oh, really?
And they use the VR. They keep you in the VR to have this constant sense of disorientation.
Did anybody see kind of a little bit jumping off topic, but did anybody see Altered Carbon?
Yeah.
He watched the whole thing. I didn't.
Remember
watch
they
it.
were torturing them in like basically a VR,
Yeah.
a simulated world, but they would actually, obviously there was an advanced in technology or something, and they could feel the pain in this virtual reality. But remember, like he was getting tortured in it, and then he had to like break.
Well, they
through.
essentially converted the consciousness into a digital code.
Yeah.
So like it was a lot easier to. It wasn't even necessarily VR. It was more like a. Geez, I don't know. Like it was like
an altered reality.
It's kind of like when you're playing, the AI is playing thousands and thousands of games over and over again. It's like you're doing that, but with consciousness that could spend lifetimes this, that, and the other doing this.
Yeah. But I don't know. But basically, coming back, I think it was an interesting thing that people are trying to ban it. I definitely don't mind the digital ban in China for having children who are under a certain age, because I think it's like, but I mean, because that's what.
That's just age gating.
Yeah, but
that's okay
what
to an extent if that's what the culture wants.
Right.
Like,
But I think it's like, I mean, that's basically kind of what the ESRP rating and stuff is like for, is to keep certain groups into certain.
Well, the sad thing about it is that like it could really all be fixed with more attentive parenting.
Yeah.
Because like
But that's the issue, is that there's not attentive parents.
Right.
Well, and that's the problem. Like it's really easy to sit here and say like, well, parents just do your jobs. But like as a parent, you know, I can understand how, because like my son is 7 and he plays games, but he only plays for like an hour a day or something.
Right.
So like he doesn't really get like a ton of time, and even if he really wants to play a game for much longer, like he has to earn it.
Right.
You know, he doesn't get to just play for hours every day.
And at least you're there to give context and answer questions, and when things get weird or they have questions, you can figure that out. Whereas some kids, like the parents don't even know what they're playing, they stick them in front of the TVs, they have fun, and like the kids want to ask them questions, they're like, I can't be bothered right
That's
now.
the other thing too, is like when I was young, I was playing Mortal Kombat 2.
Right.
And my son now, like he's played Injustice 2, and Mortal Kombat 10.
Yeah.
Do you
So,
turn
like-
the blood off when he plays?
No.
No, just curious.
He's I mean, that's the thing, like, he's, you know, as the way that I parent him is just like, I'll answer his questions honestly in a way that he can understand.
Right.
And
Give the
I
kids
know
credit.
even at his age, like, he knows the difference between a video game and real life.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and he knows it very clearly because I've sat down and I've had in-depth conversations with him about it.
Right.
And you know, even with like horror movies, he watches horror movies, and his mom and I will both be like, because I watched horror movies when I was a kid,
Yeah.
and like, you know, your kid is much more clever than you give them credit for.
Right.
They really are.
Yeah. Well,
And
especially
at the
if
same time, though, I think there's usually a certain point in time where you, as a child, see something, and then like you maybe realize it then, or not so far after, but you've just like seen something horrific,
Yeah.
like for the first time. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And
Right.
it's just funny because I just kind of just started to chuckle, but I actually went and saw the new Pet Cemetery,
Yeah.
which is like pretty gory and stuff, and we sat down in our seats, and then like before the movie started, then like a couple minutes after, like a mom and her son like were in our aisle and sat at the other end, but like the kid must have been like 9
Yeah.
or something, or 9 or 10. I don't know what 10-year-olds would really look like. I mean, he might have been a little bit older, but somewhere around that age range. And I was
Yeah.
just thinking like, damn, I would probably not bring my kid to this, because
Yeah.
only because I just don't think, if I had a kid, actually I don't, but it's like I don't think he would enjoy it, because I remember we definitely need to move on, but
Yeah.
before, I remember when I saw what was the big druggy movie, Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah.
I was really young, and I saw Requiem for a Dream, and I was like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm fucked up now, because like you've seen it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's
My dad showed me that, but he made me watch it. He said you have to watch all the way to the end.
Yeah.
Because
Oh
this
my
is why
God,
drugs
the
are
end-
bad.
Yeah, the end is so bad.
Yeah,
It's like, that's such a graphic movie.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
real too.
I mean, how old were you when you saw it? You must
I
have
was
been
I was like at least 17.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I saw it. Can somebody look up when it came out, Requiem for a Dream? Because I'm pretty sure I saw it when I was like 12
Yeah.
or something, and I was like, this is not an appropriate movie for me
Yeah,
to
no,
see.
I was definitely high school when I saw it.
Yeah.
I thought it was awesome.
October
That
27th, 2000.
2000. Right, yeah, so that would have been like
Yeah.
15.
I was 12
Yeah.
when that came, because I was 88.
Gotcha, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I must have been, I was probably somewhere between, it was on DVD, so I was probably 13 or 14, but I was like, holy shit, like this movie.
I was 15 by
Wow.
then.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know, I enjoyed that movie at the time.
But my point being is, I think there's a point in people's lives, and I think usually, if you're lucky,
Yeah.
you see that something like that on television.
Right.
But you're like, you still have that same epiphany,
Right.
where it's like, holy shit.
Yeah, no, I've had
This could be real life.
in my
As far-
younger
as
years,
far
I
as,
got
like-
shook by a couple horror movies, but I knew they were fake. That's the other thing, but they
Yeah.
still scared me.
Yeah.
And that's the catch too. Like, as a parent, like, you should know your child well enough to
Should.
know
Yeah.
how they'll respond to certain things and what is an appropriate maturity level, not an age.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, age is a number.
Yeah.
When it comes to kids, like,
That's what they say.
there are some kids who an 8-year-old kid.
Yeah, it's
If I know them well enough, I'll say like, oh, they should not watch like the It remake.
right.
Yeah.
And but my son, he's 7, and like he'll make it through Pet Cemetery and he'll just laugh.
Right.
So like it
Yeah,
really.
that's pretty-
He did
depends.
grow up on Five Nights though.
Yeah, well, yeah, he was a Five Nights at Freddy's fan.
Yeah.
And
So he's
so-
already very prone to horror. But my mom used to read me horror books when I was a kid, so I was all
But I
about it
think,
too.
like you say, though, too, to go with what you're saying is, like, I think as a parent, I think you need to know,
What's
or should
appropriate.
for your child, because like you said, there's a maturity level. Like, even though,
So to roll back to
Those son is
legislation
7.
about it, I don't think
Yeah.
that it's really. I appreciate it, but I think the parents should always have the right to overrule that
Yeah.
if they deem it appropriate.
Well, that's the same thing.
but I think them
that's-
being involved with it, I think is
Yeah, well,
It's good.
that's the same thing with like the ESRB.
Yeah.
It's like you have like a store cannot sell a game to a minor that's like rated M,
Right.
but a parent could go in there and buy
Buy
it
it
for their
for
kid
'em.
anyway.
Right.
And
But that goes into the thing where it's like, okay, now you're making the parent make a decision.
Right.
You know what I
but
mean?
the
So
parent
it's
should
like-
be making a decision if there's a
Right.
rating system or not.
Yeah.
Like it's
But
really,
some of them don't. Right. That's
Right.
the thing. So it's like I think it forces some.
But
of them.
at this
Yeah.
day and age,
Yeah,
like
you know what I
who
mean.
buys stuff on the store anyway, or from a brick and mortar.
The thing is, like,
that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
As I think like what I'll say is that, like, generally speaking, an irresponsible parent will raise an irresponsible child.
Yeah.
And
that's fair.
That's the thing. Like, they need certain structure, and if the parent is not providing that structure, then
I think to a degree, I agree with you to a degree, but I also believe that in human agency, and so like even if someone, an irresponsible parent, raises a child for a point in time, that child will potentially be irresponsible. But I think it gets to a certain point where the child is either just as ignorant.
Right. I guess we want to, as a society, do the best we can to try and help those unfortunate scenarios out.
Well, and that's why I think it's good, because then you're forcing people to make those decisions.
Oh yeah, I mean, just to clarify, like, there are kids out there who, regardless of the type of parents they have, turn out really well.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to alienate any parents out there who might get pissy with me.
They're coming for you.
And likewise, like, there are parents who do, like, everything right, and their kid still ends up being like a little shithead.
Yeah.
So sorry for kids a shithead, by the way.
Yeah.
In my defense, my argument would be that hopefully he'll only be a shithead for so long, and he'll get to a point where he can realize that, because even though this is what my parents believe and what my parents do, I don't have to make these same decisions, and I can think for myself.
Yeah.
Little shitheads who screw your mother on an Xbox. Who play Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Call of Duty.
There's a new companion app for Call of Duty. Woo! Black Ops 4 got announced 5 months ago, and it's finally in the game. So props to you, Treyarch, for putting the companion app functionality in the game. It's not actually in the game, though, you see. It's a download. You can either go to a website to see your stats, or you can download the companion app it's called Combat Record to your phone. So it's mobile or web, and it basically gives you all the stats for your kills and maps and et cetera, et cetera.
Why don't they have that in there already?
It was, so they introduced it in Black Ops 1 back in 2010, and it's been in every single Call of Duty since then.
Yeah.
But they said, Treyarch officially said it was a big feature that unfortunately only a small number of players engaged with in the game, because it was
their KD. Because that's what would tell you your KD. Right?
Well, that was in the map, but this is more.
No, but your life, like your
your KD, and
your lifespan of KD.
Right, but this one basically gave stats on individual weapons, weapon categories, specialist weapons, equipment, special issue equipment, score streaks, maps by mode, and attachments across all weapons. So if you're a stats lover, you could drill down into the menus and see all this stuff, but apparently not enough people even looked at this, because they look at what people look at, and they said, it's too far in there. We don't want to take you out of the game that you're playing. Yeah. Get your dang phone. You have phones, don't you? Yeah. Get your phone, download the app, and look at it while you're waiting for a game to load, instead of sitting in the menu staring at your stats. So that's their point, is they basically said, now this is on top level. You can go look at it when you want it. You don't even have to be at home to use it. You can see it anywhere.
And that's like another thing, like we were talking about before. Yeah, it's like making games that keep you in the game, immersed in the game. And that's probably something that they had multiple meetings about and discussions about, is how can we keep people playing Call of Duty? What's taking them out? What's the way to keep them in? That's how I'm talking. But like, that's kind of like a thing that I would think is happening with the Battle Royale games a lot. It's like where they're literally consciously making decisions that try to keep players in and playing.
I see what you're saying, but I really doubt that that's the case here, just because I know that
it's always an issue.
Well, the Black Ops 4 was a shit show at launch, and they literally just were devoid of features. I think that they just finally put this in. It was supposed to be there. And you're probably right, that was the intent initially. But
I guess maybe if there was a time crunch thing. Yeah.
If you really want to fix the issue, just don't buy Call of Duty anymore.
Yeah.
Just stop playing.
Did anybody do you have anything else about this Call of Duty thing before I sidebar you?
I do have another little announcement about it. Yeah, so aside from it having this new Combat Record app, there's also for the entire month of April, the Blackout mode, which is the Battle Royale mode, it's free to play on all platforms. So you can just download the game and play the Battle Royale mode, and on top of that, they just, for all platforms, added a new Blackout map. So it's instead of the whole map that they had, it's a new, much smaller map called Alcatraz, which was What's that?
Nothing, that's the...
Yeah, so basically it's like, it's only 40 man, so there's 10 squads of 4. You can only play in squads, you can't do solo or anything like that. But it's they added, it's originally a zombies map, so there's zombies in there that you have to fight on top of much tighter quarters, and they have respawns now. So you get 5 respawns. So once you die, you're right back in the game. You can respawn after 30 seconds 5 times, but you just come back with your regular pistol, and that's it. So that's pretty much it. So feel free to sidebar me.
Okay, well, I guess this is what I was going to say, Brian. I really don't want to talk about it for that long because we're at length right now. But,
sure.
I mean, it was going to happen. We skipped last week. So.
Yeah, that's a double episode.
Did anybody see the article that came out about Anthem? And about basically a reporter went and did, like, I think he had like 17 interviews or something.
Oh yeah,
that
huge news. Yeah,
I don't want to get into it too much, but just when I said maybe they were under a big time crunch, it completely took me to the Anthem thing. And like, did you guys see that? Or basically, one of the big points was that the big bombshells was that they actually were really only working on the game for 9 months.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah. They were working on it for 6 years.
Well, it was in development for 6 years.
It was like a year and a half when they finally started crunching down on it.
Yeah, or maybe that's what it was. They were actually working on it for a year and a half or something. But like
it was the same mess with Mass Effect Andromeda too.
Yeah.
Same story.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I think what were they? The same thing. There's some like pirates or something, or some pirate game or something they did.
Sea of Thieves?
I don't remember. I forget. I don't know. I read it like a week ago.
Okay.
Or whatever. But it was like I couldn't believe after like hearing all the shit that went on and and all the truth that came out about Anthem, like just how crazy it was.
So this is why I was saying I was going to be cautiously optimistic the entire time, because I saw there's some YouTube channel, I can't remember the name of it right now. I thought it was like Captain Price Gaming or something, but I don't know. He does these gaming episodes, and a lot of them are like, so and so game didn't die, it was murdered, and he puts that on every title. But this essay was really like in depth. He's like, he got in there, he like listened to the dev interviews and saw that people were leaving, and he's like, this doesn't look like it's gonna be good. And I was like, damn it, I really wanted this to be good. It looks so good. And it's funny because that trailer that I watched, that I was like, this is gonna be so good, all the devs saw, and they're like, so that's the game we're gonna make.
That's the same thing I heard.
Was, the standout thing I heard that I caught the most out of that whole thing was that they didn't even know the name of it until a week before they announced it.
Right, it was supposed to be Beyond.
That's freaking
wild,
wild,
they couldn't get the trademark for it.
That's wild.
Yeah, they had shirts printed up and everything.
Yeah.
Well, who dropped that? Do we remember the news outlet that they dropped it?
I remember hearing Angry Joe talk about it, but I don't think he was the first.
There was somebody. It was one of those divisive. I think it was Kotaku, if I'm not mistaken. It was one of the. They were like, this guy it's Kotaku, but this journalist actually did their homework and did a good job. So everyone's really excited. Yeah,
well, I think he really dug in. The guy who wrote the report, really dug into everything.
I think his name was Jeremy something or other. I don't know. Well done to that reporter.
It's a really big announcement that affects people worldwide.
Does it though? Because we already kind of knew that it was garbage.
But you know what? But I think it gives a lot. Like when you start,
everyone gets it. Yeah,
now. When you like basically, what do they call that? You basically air it out for everybody. I don't think a lot of people
exposed.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people really were like keeping tabs on it. And then it's like when you start to get big outlets, multiple outlets that are start to talk about it. Like I mean, then the reach. It starts to get really big.
When you think about it. With only 9 months of real planning, that they did a miracle with that game.
But that's the thing that like a lot of people were saying, and I don't really want to rip on the developers.
You know, those people. They're from EA, but they
EA
were
published the game.
Mass Effect.
Yeah, who were the guys who developed
BioWare?
BioWare.
But basically, yeah, I mean, they were really jabbing hard at BioWare as a development team, and like I think a lot of people initially were blaming EA and stuff, but it's kind of like it's not completely EA.
Well, it was senior management that mismanaged, but the thing is, like, half of them left. Like right before the game, but maybe that's why they left. They were like, "Oh, screwed this up. Can't have my name on it."
The article was released by Jason Schreier.
Jason Schreier.
At Kotaku.
Yep. Okay. Good job, Jason.
Big announcement.
That was huge.
Yeah.
That was like an hour-long read too.
Yeah.
It's a very long article.
So well
without
researched.
spending too much time on it. There's
A game journalist that actually does journalism. That's nice.
I know. It's rare in this day and age. Another huge story. Well, it's not huge, but it's a huge event. It's one of the biggest esports events ever. It's the Fortnite World Cup Finals. Now, the Fortnite World Cup hasn't even started, but they announced the finals, and it begins July 26th. And this is a mouthful of a venue, but it's at the USTA Billie Jean King National Tennis Center's Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York City.
Wow.
And you can pre-register through Ticketmaster with their verified fan system. So that just goes to show how big esports is getting. Because
is anybody allowed to register?
If you're a verified fan of Fortnite, just like with like Taylor Swift tickets or whatever, you can't. They're stopping scalpers by making you have to be a verified fan before you can pre-order your tickets.
Any idea what it takes to be a verified fan?
Typically, you have to join the fan club and be a member for X amount of days.
But that's kind of cool because like I think a lot of other other esports stuff is kind of like goes on a point system, and like if you want to get to the big tournaments or something, aside from like the big streamer events and stuff, but like big esports events, it's like you need to kind of like grind the circuit, if you will, to get into like evolution or something.
Exactly. Yeah, you know that's what they're doing with this as well, pretty much. And
but that doesn't sound like that to me. It sounds like if you buy some hats and some merch, you can go to the World Cup.
Well, I don't know. We can look up what the verified fan system entails. I'm not 100% sure.
But that's what I mean. It doesn't sound like you need a certain points or a ranking, and
that's how typically these things work.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's how it sounds different to me.
As a fan system that you're verified. How do you get verified?
They have that for.
I know how you get verified on Tinder.
They have that for.
You pay them.
They have a fan verification system for Comic-Con.
Right.
In New York City.
They have that it's the same concept.
All you have to do is just like it's kind of a pain because like I tried to go to the Comic-Con a couple of years ago.
Right, you couldn't just get in because you had to.
The problem with it, what I hated was that like I didn't know about the Comic-Con because like it was my first one, so I was completely unprepared.
Yeah.
And by then like it was already like, oh, you had to have been verified like 6 months ago.
Exactly. And so that's to stop scalpers from buying up the tickets and reselling them to you at $400 a ticket.
Right, yeah.
So that's what they did here with this. But not only if you finally get in there and you're able to obtain a pass, you'll get both a Season 10 Battle Pass and an unspecified amount of V-Bucks. Yeah. Woohoo! So they'll give you a little bonus for having that. But the prize pool is $30 million.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
So yeah, for solo and duos, basically if you make it to NYC, the top winners will get $3 million, and everyone else who made it all the way to NYC will get $50,000 just for getting there.
Oh really?
Yeah.
What about the squads?
There's solos and duos.
There's no squads?
No squads.
Oh. Because there is squads in Fortnite, I think.
There is, it's just not in the pro scene.
Yeah. That's what they need to do, because like I was watching a lot of like the PUBG tournaments and stuff, and like a lot of them were squads.
Yeah.
And I felt like it would just be better. I think it's better for esports, or like better for an esports team, or better for esports competitors to play solo or duo, because I think it makes you more I don't know about more polarizing, I guess, is where it's like if you're a Dr. Disrespect or whatever, but it's like, or I guess like if you're Shroud,
right,
but it's like how many names of players can you name from the Cloud9 team other than Shroud? Remember that was the team he was on.
Yeah, I don't follow.
But that's you know what I mean. But if you create like big personalities, You know what I mean? If you create, because I mean, how many big esports people can you even name?
I mean, I can name a bunch from the Call of Duty circuit when I watch them. They're just like players on a team that and you know the teams, you know. I mean,
but that's what I mean though. If you start blowing up like single players, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because I think that's just a better way to do it. You know what I mean?
When I was following the Call of Duty scene, it seemed like every freaking season or every a couple games they swap players with other teams, and it's like, weren't you just on this team? No, you're over here. Yeah. So it's like you start knowing who the players are, and it's like, okay, that's cool. The team that I was rooting for doesn't even have any of the original people, so I just follow the people.
But that's what I mean. Then you start to like other teams and stuff.
Right.
So I feel like if you start to kind of minimize it, even like with Evo and stuff, it's like for the most part it's single players playing each other, and then it's like, but then you start to like. People start to get really big in those niche, in those games or in the gaming tournaments and stuff like that, because it's like they're one person who went to the top.
Right.
Aside from a team that like you start to trade. I just said it because I think it's a good thing for esports to start making big name players.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I guess it depends on the game too, because if you've got your Dotas and your LOLs that are like, those are very team based, but.
Yeah. But I think like with fighters and stuff, and you get a lot of the same players playing multiple fighting games and like competing in, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, but I think my point was I think it's good for esports to create, big name players and stuff. And then,
I agree.
But I mean, and that just helps the whole.
Yeah, because you got these people who, like going back to the COD thing, you had your one or two teams that were always down like Greenwall, Optic was always number one because they always won, and so it's like Fairweather gamers were all flocked to this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Are there any VR games in esports right now?
Beat Saber actually is. It's not. There's leaderboards. It's not necessarily esports.
Did you see the new Beat? There's like Beat Gun or something, or it's on. It's coming out for. I've seen it on the PlayStation.
I didn't, but I know that Beat Saber won the most sold game on PS4 2 months in a row now.
Yeah, there's one that I think it's like a similar game. I think it's like Beat Guns or something, or Beat.
I think I did hear that.
On the thumbnail is like two kind of like lasers.
Oh, okay.
Guns or something. And I think it might be like Beat Saber with guns or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know that Tetris Effect is still getting praises all over the internet. So
well, I think that's kind of like it goes back to the nostalgia of Tetris itself.
Yeah, but people were just like, that game is.
Yeah.
It came out like $40. Like, how are you gonna pay $40 for Tetris?
Well, there's 4 dimensions.
Right.
So
the Tesseract, it's gonna get you.
I think the VR stuff, is going to be a big thing, and I know we have a VR story that we're going to be talking about here.
Yeah, you and me, we're big fans. Yeah. But you're a bigger fan of this specific game.
Yeah, specifically No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
The Hello Games came out with an announcement, and that on March 15th, that initially they were talking about they were expanding the multiplayer features of the game, and they were going to release another big update for the game. This seems to be the biggest one they've done, and they've done a lot of big ones.
Yeah.
So they essentially rolled 3 large updates that they were going to release separately, and they rolled them all into one.
Wasn't it called Next or something like that?
Beyond.
Oh, okay.
And so
like Anthem.
They're greatly, they're greatly expanding the multiplayer elements so that players will be able to get together more.
Oh, we should play.
And we totally could. And they said in their official update on the website, players everywhere in the universe to meet and play together. Whilst this brings people together like never before, and has many recognizable online elements, we don't consider No Man's Sky to be an MMO. It won't require a subscription, it won't contain microtransactions, and it will be free for all existing players. So,
well done.
So, this game came out at $60 at launch like 3 years ago now, I think.
Still coming out with huge updates.
All these updates free.
Yep.
Every one of them. And this the VR aspects, like, there are people who were able to get their hands on the VR experience, and they're all saying it's really well done and really well incorporated.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for that as a VR, because like that was something I'd been saying basically from like day one, was just like, this game needs VR.
Yeah.
If there's any game that could benefit from it,
You were really hoping, and I was like, yeah, good luck with
I
that.
think the guy who created and developed it, I think, wanted it to be VR.
Yeah.
Initially, I
They
think
were
that was
talking
like
about
his
it.
dream. Initially, was to
They've been hinting at it. They were hinting at it for a long time, and they
I
were
remember
like,
before the game even came out, you were saying he said something about it on Twitter.
Yeah. So they've been considering it for a long time.
Yeah, I
And,
remember when you told me, I laughed at you. I said, yeah, good luck with that. It's 4 dudes.
But it's getting like even like getting the move control support and stuff. So like your hands will be in the game. You will be walking around, and you can do the regular walking at regular speed, or you can.
So you can actually pet the animals?
Yeah.
Oh,
Probably.
I want to pet a dinosaur.
And like
A space dino.
you sit in the cockpit of your ship, and like you control the throttle with one hand and the joystick, like the movement and stuff, with the other.
Oh, nice.
And like they fully integrated the UI so that it's not like super invasive like in Skyrim, where you have to like pull up this big pause menu, I guess.
Right.
So like you can like I don't know exactly how it's done, but apparently you can flip up your wrist and push a button and it'll show up on your wrist or something fancy like that.
Boy.
So they're making it like fully integrated stuff, and I'm just really pumped for it, because like it's if you ever wanted to space travel and be in another universe and feel like you're actually a space explorer, it seems like this is going to be the best way to go about it.
Yeah.
And so I'm really pumped for that. I'm super excited. I'm super happy they're finally making it happen.
Nice.
And also, keep in mind, like between the multiplayer component and the VR component, there's still one other leg of this update that they haven't even talked about yet. And the people who played the VR experience apparently played the version that did not incorporate the third part of the update. So like we still don't even know what this third part of the update is going to be.
Well, that's the part that breaks the whole game.
Yeah, it's going to be like 1 week of like all this fully realized experience, and then the third part of the update itself suddenly just going to break it everything. I'm really excited. I don't know what the third part will be. I'm just happy that it's getting VR support to the degree it's getting.
I'm not, because that means I'm going to have to give your VR headset back.
Well, I don't know, maybe not, because I might be like just too busy to play it as much as I'd like, so I might just come over and have like a
There we go, we'll have
experience.
a No Man's Sky party.
Yeah, and so, that could be really entertaining. And like apparently the NPCs at the space stations will actually be walking around the space station instead of just being like stationary in
the
place.
Static menu screen,
Yeah, so they're really building quite a lot on it.
Nice.
They've diversified the planets, they've diversified the sea life, and
Has everything been named?
no, there's still like trillions and tens of trillions of
Quadrillions.
Quadrillions.
So right?
Well, I mean, it's essentially limitless.
Yeah.
It might
procedurally generated. So
it might as well be.
Anytime
I
somebody
think
gets
like
close
if
to
you
the
played
edge.
every waking, or if you didn't ever sleep and everyone here played that game for our entire lifetimes, we still would only like touch
That's what I thought. I thought every
1,000th
time you
of the
get
game.
close to the edge, a new edge is created, basically.
You go into another galaxy when you reach
Yeah.
the center.
Yeah.
So you basically start over from scratch in the
So
whole
wait,
galaxy.
can we do a spoilers thing real quick?
Spoilers.
What is at the center?
Well,
Nothing. Spoilers.
I actually don't. I
Because
don't.
that's the game, though, right? To get to the center.
Well, that's a
was.
part of the game. That was like the big draw in like the early days when it first came out. Was like, oh, get to the center. That's your goal.
So you
and
can
everything.
see
And like
nothing.
it was basically like you get to the center, flash of light, and then all of a sudden it basically goes back to the starting screen where you see all the stars and stuff, and you're going backwards,
Oh.
and then you just like respawn on another planet with like your stuff's broken and you have to fix it again.
Oh
like,
my
and
gosh.
so instead of being in like the Euclid galaxy, you're starting out all over again in some other galaxy.
I was so hyped, like when I first, like the first 5 hours of that game, I was like, this is so awesome.
Yeah.
And then after
And
that,
it wears
I was
off
like,
really
oh
fast.
my
Yeah.
God.
Well, it did upon release because it was just so
Yeah.
basic at the time.
Right.
They've expanded so much on this game for free over the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've completely made good on it.
The only other
In my
game
opinion.
I just want to give a quick shout out to is that game that you and I were both hyped for was called Agony. That came out.
Yeah.
That game was a Kickstarter, and it was supposed to be, it pushed the boundaries of censorship and stuff like that because it was super edgy.
Yeah.
And
it's very edgy.
and then when it came out, they couldn't strike a deal. Their lawyers couldn't make it work, and they had to censor it. And so there was huge outrage, and the game was pretty much broken, and it was just a terrible game. They released the for free. They patched it with the unrated version. They still can't do it with consoles because of whatever, but you can see all the unrated stuff on YouTube if you want to see it. But they fixed the map, they fixed all the broken stuff, they fixed the colors, they made it less dark. They've just constantly been pumping out patches, and now it's a completely different game with a whole other mode to it. And it's like...
Was that the game where you're in like the circles of hell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, and so it came out and was terrible, and now it's awesome. So shout out to them. If you liked that game and it looked interesting at the time you didn't pick it up, give it another shot because it's dope.
One more thing I'd like to touch on involving No Man's Sky, or particularly Hello Games, is I did watch this really interesting and enlightening and kind of touching he was like doing Sean Murray. He was like the guy who took all the flack for No Man's Sky when it released.
Because he was the one who did all the false advertising.
Yeah, like he had like death threats
Yeah.
and like crazy crap like that, which is just ridiculous to me. Like that's I can understand being mad at a game, but for Christ's sake, like death threats.
Gamers rise up.
And so but like, you know, he basically like came out and did this speech for all these people and talked about his experience and what it was like and how he dealt with all the adversity that he was facing during that time. And it was really interesting to hear that, like hearing someone who is a public figure who's getting the worst of online hate and how he came out of that, like, you know, in one piece, because they could have quit on this game.
Yeah,
they could have taken the money and run.
Mm-hmm.
And despite all of the negativity and all of the hate thrown his way, because like Sean Murray, he took all of that on his own shoulders. Like
I watched his Twitter account. It was bad.
Yeah, he actually the rest of the developers didn't even engage in social media. They couldn't even see what was going on.
Yeah.
Sean Murray took all of the hate.
Yeah.
For their sake.
Yeah.
And
he's like Butters.
Because he knew that like he didn't want it to affect their morale.
Right.
And he knew it was important to keep them in a positive place so that they would keep getting up and keep working on it.
Yeah.
And that was something that he was the reason why he got up and kept working on it was that like he would see the reactions from people when they would release an update, and like everybody would be like, "Oh, this is great!"
Yeah.
And that was his motivator to get up and keep working on it himself. And that's
like, we can come back from
so
this.
yeah. So like major props to Sean Murray and Hello Games.
People forget. People have that. The world has so much hate, but it forgets easily. So if you can ride it out, you'll be okay. So
yeah, just do something better.
And considering the state that this game is in now, and the fact that it's only like $20,
yeah,
or less,
yeah,
like you're getting a lot for $20 at this point.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
Because I paid $60 when it came out.
Yeah.
And when it had like very little.
Yeah.
So
worth it.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, speaking of hotly anticipated new stuff, we got the new games for what is it? April now? April.
I thought you were gonna say the Sonic movie.
No. Oh yeah, Sonic movie's gonna be a little edgy, guys. Just FYI. So
Jim Carrey's in it.
Yeah, Jim Carrey's in it. He plays Dr. Robotnik, and he's the one who said it was edgy.
Some of his real life crazy into the
Dude, he is so bonkers.
Yeah, he is, man.
I love Jim Carrey, but man.
Yeah.
He just took a turn.
I don't know.
After he put that mask on, man. He
yeah.
I don't know.
I think he's sweet still. He has good intentions. But anyways, games. The most anticipated games for this month are Days Gone at number 1. This is the top 5, and that comes out on the 26th for PS4.
No surprise there.
As an exclusive, so get that PS4 if you want to play that. Number 2, coming out on the 16th, is Anno 1800 for PC, which is that like SimCities game. But it's cool because it's in the Industrial Revolution, so you have to deal with like pollution and people like striking on their.
Didn't you have to deal with all that in SimCity?
Yeah.
Pollution was definitely a thing in SimCity.
Yeah, but this one's like, it's I guess more of a thing because it's in the Industrial Revolution and all the factories just churn out a ton of it. So I don't know. Anyways, so
nobody cared about pollution in the Industrial Revolution.
They didn't until like the toxic pools were killing the people living in the cities.
yeah, but that's later.
Yeah, that is later. Fair enough. All right, so also on the 16th, the number 3 spot for most anticipated games is World War Z for PS4, Xbox One, and PC, which looks dope. It really reminds me of Left 4 Dead with the horde mechanics.
What's the new Left 4 Dead? Blood for Life or something?
Blood to some.
But Back for Blood.
Back for Blood, that's right. That's okay. Well, that's not coming out this month.
Right.
The number 4 spot is MK11 on PS4, Xbox One, PC, and Switch. And a number 5 spot, one that I had never heard of, but it's a little cute game called My Time at Portia for the Switch. So it's like, it looks like a Minecraft, but like with Zelda graphics, and it's like got NPCs and stuff that like it's a questing type of Minecraft. It's a crafting game, but it's also like
Is it like
a JRPG.
Minecraft graphics?
No, it looks like, imagine like a more cartoonized version of Zelda.
What is it called?
It's My Time at Portia. It's like very cute, like there's kitties everywhere and stuff. It's a very kid game, but it looks interesting. Like
But there's some JRPGs that are actually really cool. Like Ni no Kuni was dope.
Yeah, this isn't. The combat is not. I don't think it's turn-based as much as that. It's one of those integrated. Anyways,
Well,
yeah.
Ni no Kuni wasn't. Oh, I guess it was. The newest Ni no Kuni was different.
That's a straight-up JRPG.
Yeah,
That's like a 100-hour-long game.
Yeah, I liked the.
It was a
first
really
one.
good game.
The first one is the one I played the most, and then I only saw videos of the second one.
Yeah.
But I think the second one was a bit different. Yeah.
Okay, and then the rest of the games coming out this month. On the 9th, we have 4 games. There's Shovel Knight Showdown for PC and Switch. Shovel Knight King of Cards for PS4 and Switch.
Are these add-ons to Shovel Knight?
I don't think so. They look like they're standalones, but I didn't really have time to look too far into it, so I'm not 100% sure. But they're coming out at the same time, although one is for PS4 and one's for PC, so I don't know. They might be add-ons. Yeah, I'm not sure. And then there's, for the anime fans out there, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trilogy, which is it's very anime-esque game where you play as a lawyer trying to get people off.
How are the models?
So it almost looks like one of those like Doki Doki Literature Club type of things where there's just the static models that just kind of move a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, it's all text pretty much. And that's for PS4 and Switch. And then also on the 9th is Dangerous Driving for PS4 and Xbox One, which is like a racing game where the more dangerous you drive, the faster you go.
Oh, like Burnout?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
So it's an arcadey driving game. We haven't had one of those in a while, so that's kind of cool. On the 11th for the Switch, we got Hellblade's Senua's Sacrifice, so that's coming out.
I almost want to get it, only because I've been playing the Switch a lot, and I really want something, to play.
Gotcha. Yeah. On the 16th, this is a big one. I think 12 plus years in the making is Dreams from Media Molecule. They're the ones who made Little Big Planet 3.
Oh, really?
And all the other Little Big Planets. But this isn't really, it's early access for PS4. It's a PS4 exclusive, and it's not really a game so much as it's called Dreams because it's like a set of tools to make your own content, to build your own levels and make games within it. It's kind of like a Mario Maker kind of thing.
Yeah, I actually heard a lot of people talking about that.
Yeah, so that's on the 16th, so that's exciting. I definitely keep my eye on that. Also on the 16th, we got Final Fantasy X and X-2 HD Remaster for PS4, PS3, PS Vita, Switch, Xbox One, and PC. And on the 18th, we have for the Switch, Cuphead's finally coming out. So now when you get pissed, you can throw your Switch and have to buy a new one of those, so that's good. Get a wrist strap or something. Then on the 30th, Final Fantasy VII, The Zodiac Age for PS4, Xbox One, PC, and Switch. And sometime this April, to be determined, we have Five Nights at Freddy's VR Help Wanted for PS4 and PC. And Super Meat Boy Forever for PS4, Xbox One, PC, and Switch, which is... Crow saw that. He seemed to really like the new Super Meat Boy game.
Yeah, it looks promising. I like the new mechanics to it.
Yeah, it's like a runner where it's like an endless runner where you basically, once you're going, you have to commit, and so the only time you can change directions is when you hit a wall and you can jump off of it. Oh. So it's still Super Meat Boy hard. So And for this week's PS Plus free titles, we've got Conan Exiles, which is like a gory MMO with dong physics, and The Surge.
I think they took them out.
Did they?
I think it's only on PC.
Oh, dang! Really was excited for the dong physics. But the Surge, didn't you play that?
I did play The Surge, and I was telling you that I think you should play it. Because it's basically like secret. When it came out, everybody was like, "It's Dark Souls." It's Dark Souls.
It's not though.
No, it's actually a bit better, but the combat is a lot similar. But you basically in kind of like this.
For sure.
I wanted to say something, but I don't think it's the right word.
It seems like it's industrial.
Yeah,
it's
like an industrial dystopian.
Dystopian?
Yeah, that's what the word I was going for, but then I couldn't remember how to say it.
Fair enough.
But basically, yeah, it's basically based in the future, and within the first 10 minutes you'll know this, but your character is handicapped, and he's like paraplegic or something.
Okay.
And so he can't. I don't know. That's not is that a paraplegic?
That means you have no function on two of your limbs.
Yeah, so he can't walk.
Yep.
Yeah. Not even second guessing all my verbiage.
You're good, man.
Yeah, so you can't walk, and then they basically put you in an exosuit, which gives you mobility over your legs and stuff, and then you start the same combat style that they have in Dark Souls. But in this one, you can you actually you target different body parts on your enemies. So if they'll potentially have they'll have an exoskeleton, but then they'll have different armored pieces. And you can target those armored pieces and cut them off and stuff so you go through similar to Sekiro where you have the death blow, you work up that meter and then you can chop off their arm, and if you chop off their arm without killing them, well, I don't think it matters even if you kill them, but you'll get that armor piece and then you can scrap it and use it to work on your exosuit.
Chop off their arm, huh?
That's
it's really cool. You can do it, but you can do it with their heads. You can do it with their torsos.
That's kind of like Horizon, in a way.
There's another game that's like that. It's called Knife to Meet You, where you play as a crab with a knife. You've seen the meme. You've seen the meme.
Yeah.
And you get to play, it's like a co-op game or a Octodad, and you try and go and get the family. That's free for PC if you want to pick it up. I'm totally going to play it a little bit. It seems fun.
I know I want to see a Let's Play of that.
Right? Just it's called Knife to Meet You. Meat as in crab meat.
Oh, jeez.
Alright, anyways. Enough of that. So yeah.
Speaking of Sekiro.
Yeah, we can talk about this thing.
You guys played it, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been out for a little while. We probably would have had a lot more to say about it, or a lot to say about it last week, but
maybe
somebody had to get sick.
do we want to actually do the whole? Do you want to save this for a whole nother talk about it? Because I feel like you guys have a bunch to talk about.
We could probably just throw 5 or 10 minutes at it.
Okay.
That would be okay, because then we have the DMC review, and then we'll probably be lights out after that.
For sure.
Yeah, I guess. What do you think about Sekiro so far?
I think it's probably probably the best game that they've made yet because of the intro. Yeah.
Better than Bloodborne?
Because one of my major gripes pretty much my only real major gripe with Bloodborne was the general lack of a storyline to follow.
Uh-huh.
I just had no idea what the heck was going on, or why I was doing anything, or why I was a hunter, or why is anything happening.
I knew why I was a hunter.
Well, I didn't even really understand that part, because it's
I didn't understand.
It's you need a contract, now create your character to look however, and then you just wake up on a table and you go out and kill stuff.
That's the game.
That was pretty much the game, and then spoiler alert, the guy in the wheelchair is the bad the whole time.
I want to play it.
So and so I was just okay, that's a thing. That's how this game is going.
Yeah.
But Sekiro, it's okay, there's characters involved. There's something to actually care about. There's a reason to continue. There's a reason to go through these places and to fight these bosses and to do these things. And I really like the prosthetics that they came up with. The Mist Raven is probably going to be one of my favorites. I haven't really used it much yet.
Yeah.
I've only experimented with it a little bit, but I really like the way that they've the posture meter and how you can effectively go at a boss from very different ways. Like you can either get up in their face, be aggressive, and wear down their posture and get that death blow, despite them having like 90% of their health left.
Right.
Or you can slowly chip away at their health
And then
very
work
carefully.
then work the posture up.
Yeah. So there's definitely like
Good posture.
you know, and there's also several different methods that you can go about facing a boss as well.
Yeah.
Like different methods of attack, different prosthetics that you can use. It really depends on your play style. Like my thing with Lady Butterfly, like I fought her dozens of times, and then I saw
Sounds kind of fruity.
I saw this strategy, and I just used that strategy, and it wasn't like even cheesing. Like the game even tells you, oh, you can do a sidestep to dodge an attack, and then do a counter attack.
Yeah.
And I should have taken it as a clue, but for some reason it just didn't sink into me. So I just did that, and she was just a piece of cake.
Yeah. The initial advertisement or criticism that it was like a rock, paper, scissors game, I believed it early on, but as I started to progress through it later, I don't feel like it's a rock, paper, scissors. I feel like I definitely feel like there's multiple ways to go at bosses, but I feel like there's two main ones. There's the right way, or kind of like the main way that it's you're intended to fight a boss, and then there's like the cheese way with firecrackers and sand, which is honestly what I've resorted to multiple times. Sadly, is literally just whipping like 12 firecrackers, hitting them and hitting twice every time in between, and then when I ran out of firecrackers, I just whip sand in their face and hit twice, and it's super sad.
That's dirty.
But it's dude, it's super sad. But some bosses are just it's just not. I can't. I don't know. I just can't.
Sand.
Yeah, it's super sad. But no, seriously, there's some and I feel the same way. There's some direction, but I feel like you get to a certain point in the game, and then you're like, what am I doing here? That's seriously where I am in the game is I don't know where I'm supposed to go.
I think part of the reason for that is because they tend to leave their maps very open.
Yeah.
So you can end up in a place where you're not really supposed to be yet.
Well, I got to a point where I basically had exhausted every path that there was, and then I had to go back, and then I realized that there was a hole somewhere that I hadn't gone.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then I was okay, now I know where I'm supposed to be, and right now I have direction. But there was a point in time where I had exhausted those paths, all of them, and then I'm are we doing spoilers or not really? I got to a point where I got an ability that lets me traverse, I guess, a different type of terrain, but I'm I don't know if I can go back and then go through all the spots. I mean, I know I can, but it's is that what I'm missing? Do I need to go? Is there a hole somewhere that I can get to now? But right now I know where I'm supposed to be, and I'm at a boss. That's just basically been my thing. I love the game to death right now, and I love the world, and then the mob combat and stuff. But the skill checks that come with the bosses, man, are dude, because I run through the worlds, all the little minions and the mini bosses and stuff are no, they're fine for me. But it's as soon as I get to the big bosses, I'm dude, I'm in my 10th fight with them, and I'm just what the fuck?
Yeah.
This is so discouraging. And then I usually ultimately stop, and then I'll come back and just whip them with firecrackers. That's basically to be honest with you, that's how I've been. But there is some bosses where you can't do that.
Yeah, because they'll eat up all your firecrackers, and then
not even that. But there's some bosses that it doesn't stun them.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's you just can't do it, and you need to go through. And there's some that are actually really fun, and it basically comes into a striking mash and a deflecting mash, and then that's that way to defeat the boss, but it's not going to work on the next one.
Right.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
There's not going to be there's literally one boss, and the only buttons you need are L1 and R1, which is L1's deflect, and then R1's attack, and you basically just beat their posture meter up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then there's a boss right after that, and it's you're not going to do that to this guy.
Yeah.
Because he has so many I guess the ultimate or unblockables, and stuff, and then even some of the attacks that aren't unblockable are like 3/4 of your posture. Like there's one boss who he has like a big downward swing, and it's like even if you block it or deflect it, you still get cranked. Like even your posture still gets like cranked to the roof.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the game is really great, but it's definitely like a From Software game, and it's definitely, I mean, it's definitely really difficult.
Yeah.
I was saying like it's a From Software game in the sense that it's like you get to a point and you're like, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, so I'm just gonna keep going forward like into the unknown and stuff. And now I'm trying to think of places that I haven't gone. But I think there's points where I missed a path and stuff because it's like it's so easy to miss the main path.
Yeah, I think that comes along with the adding of like the vertical nature of the game too. Is that like there's a lot of places where it's like you wouldn't even think to look up because it's not a common theme for them.
Yeah.
And you see a cliff and you're just like, oh yeah, I can go up there.
Or there's one area that I like you have to like swim up the stream and then like you grapple, and then there's like one of the walls that you can like ninja gate in.
I know exactly where you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's like there's not much up there or whatever, but it's like you get up there.
But you get a prosthetic tool up there.
Is that which one is up there?
That's where you get the Mist Raven.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. But I remember when I first went up there, and then the guy who was at the top, like I couldn't beat him for a really long time.
Did you fight the sub boss version of that guy?
I don't think we're talking about the same guy.
Well, no, because like there's like the sub boss version of that same exact character. He has the same exact moveset, but he's a sub boss instead.
There's multiples.
Well, yeah, like those.
We're basically talking about. I'm talking about the guy that actually the enemies actually look like the Ninja Gaiden guy.
Yeah, no, he's like that's an enemy type.
Yeah.
But then there's like a sub boss version of that enemy type, and it's.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's like.
Where's the sub boss version?
Okay, the Ashina Aqueduct idol, like close by the castle.
Yeah.
You would grapple across the ravine, and there's that one guy who has the thing that he's banging on.
Yeah.
You kill him.
And then there's
you go a little bit further to the left.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you go up there. There's a guy you can talk to.
Yeah.
And you go past that, and you can drop down in the hole, and he's a sub boss version of that enemy type.
Well, there's another one that's even later on.
Oh, is there?
Too, yeah.
Okay.
So there's like multiple of these Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah, they all have the same moveset. So it's like if you can beat one of the sub bosses, then typically you can beat like the guy. Well, actually, I ended up using the axe strategy on him.
Oh yeah.
Because if you just focus on him and just smash your axe down on him, and he can hardly get out of it, and you just damage the crap out of his posture meter.
Yeah. Did you get the jump where you can jump and use the prosthetics tools?
Not yet, I don't think.
Because like it's in the acquired abilities or the acquired skills or whatever. Because you can you can toggle over to the prosthetics.
Yeah,
one of them is to use them in the air, and you really should get it because it makes the game it's just one of those skills that it just makes it that much easier.
It seems like a small thing, but it's really useful.
Yeah, because that's really the big thing. Because even with the one horse boss, which I'm sure a lot of people have played, one of the biggest things to do against him is in the same thing. When you grapple, you can attack while grappling.
Yeah, and I actually looked at that fight just before I got into it, and I saw that there was the grapple possibility.
Yeah.
But the guy didn't have the skill in the video to swipe as he was coming forward, so I'm just I'm gonna get that skill before I go into this fight.
Yeah.
And it was really handy.
Yeah, because I didn't have the grapple skill when I went into it, and then. But I still ended up using that technique of when you're grappling to him and stuff like that. So I mean, the game's been a lot, definitely a lot of fun. I guess I almost wish that it was just a little bit more direction or something. I feel I wish that there was someone who you could talk to in it, and they could be like, hey, this is what you need to be doing right now.
Well, they kind of, I mean, they kind of point you like Lord Kuro. He kind of tells you this is where you have to go. This is what I need from you.
Yeah.
But then there's no real reminders to that.
Right.
So you're just kind of free to wander around, and you can pretty easily get sidetracked and then be like, what was I supposed to be doing again?
Yeah.
But the general theme of it is that, and the only thing that I kind of don't like is the complexity of the endings that are involved. Because I looked it up and I'm like, I'm trying to decide whether or not I really want to. Like,
yeah, I haven't done any
if
of
I
that
really
stuff.
want to just bash my head against the cinder block that is called Sekiro for the next 2 weeks until Mortal Kombat 11 comes out, because that's really what it feels like sometimes.
Yeah.
That's why they need to put on easy mode in.
There is an easy mode. It's called Sand and Firecracker. That is the easy mode.
The easy mode is called good.
Yeah, that's true. That is the easy mode.
Developers, or
It is-
not developers, journalists.
There was actually, and I wanted to get into it and stuff, but there's actually been a bunch of articles about that have been, I guess, brought up because of the difficulty of Sekiro.
Yeah,
and
that's
stuff.
what Bruce was hinting at.
Yeah.
But
Well, no, but I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that it was causing such a stir, and I'm actually glad it did because I do feel like it's really hard.
That's the point, but the developer themselves said that our artistic vision wouldn't be compromised if we were to make it easier. It'd still be the same game. It's just like, and like
I
the
think
person
that's
who
his-
made
I think-
Bayonetta, they were like, we put in a one button
I
attack
think-
mode, and lots of players who wouldn't have been able to play the game, and they were able to experience it, and it didn't compromise. It was still fun. It was still good.
I think genuinely, like, I really think that for the most part, the complaints of like the wanting an easy mode in a game like Sekiro from that developer, like, you know that they make hard games. Like, that's their whole shtick.
Right.
Yeah, that's
And-
the point of the game. yeah.
Like, that's, yeah, and so it's not even like an art. I mean, part of it is an artistic vision, because their artistic vision is they want to challenge their player base.
Right.
But really, I think part of the complaints to want an easy mode are coming from the fact that video games in general these days
Yeah.
are pretty easy.
Yeah.
Like they're
That's true.
Like 95% of games released today are easy as pie. It's just go back like to the people who want an easy mode in Sekiro. Go back to like Super Nintendo games of old
back to Nintendo.
and try to play through all of them, like start to finish.
That's what an emulator's for.
And tell me if games today are you know.
There was a lot of games because I remember like growing up and playing like Nintendo, Sega, and Super NES, and like I don't remember. I wish I could, but I can't remember the first game that I beat, and like all the way through. But I remember being really young and playing those consoles, and like never beating a game. And I remember like that there was a point where like I was a young gamer and like I want to beat a game.
Yeah.
But like I remember playing like what was the one I was playing, which is ironically was one of the hardest. It's like Ghosts and Ghouls or whatever.
Oh, that is a tough one.
And like I never would get past like the third map.
That's because those games were super short. They were like 40 minutes long, and if they didn't make you die and replay the game over and over again, you'd have at the time they were like $80 for those games.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, I paid $80 for a 40 minute game, so that's why they made them hard.
Well, that's the personal factor about it for me, and probably a lot of other gamers out there too that are like, you know, our age, is that like I was so accustomed to games being a challenge and being really hard all the time that like when games got easier and easier, I'm just like, this is too simple.
Yeah.
Like this is not. This should be a little bit
Well,
more.
so
when from Softworks games come out, and I get to Bloodborne and I get to Sekiro, I'm like, this is refreshing because I feel like I'm earning something out of
Yeah,
this.
so
Sure.
refreshing.
Give that, you should get a medal when you beat the game on the hardest difficulty.
Well, that's what I
You know
said.
what I
Like I
mean?
really want, yeah.
And have the developers say this is how it should be played. If you play it less than
But
that,
the thing
you
is,
better be disabled,
they
otherwise
should
you're a
know
little
it
girl.
should
But but here's the thing, like putting an easy mode in, it to appease like, and saying like oh, disabled people want to be able to play the game, so put an easy mode in.
Yeah.
Like how many disabled people who play the game as is today would be kind of pissed off if they realized that like, you know, a journalist or like even from Softworks, not that they would do this, but like if they did, they're just like, oh, here poor disabled players, here's an easy mode for you, and I hope you feel good about beating our easy mode.
Here's my take on that. Is much like with remakes of movies, there's some fans that say it shouldn't exist because the original was the best. You shouldn't mess it up. And my take on that is don't watch it then. It has a right to exist. If you want to preserve the other one, don't watch it. So if they put in an easy mode, don't play it. Be the badass that you want to be.
Yeah.
more options is always better. It's never
you know what,
not
You know
better.
what? If it weren't for the fact that so many freaking games out there today are so freaking easy now,
Yeah.
then I would say you had a good point. But like, From Softworks is the one developer who makes hard games, basically. They're the only developer that's really known for making challenging games in the current generation.
Sure.
So like, you know, if they don't want to put it in easy mode, if you want to play an easy game, there are basically every other game out there you can play. Like, so go play those.
I guess that's just a poor decision in a business manner. You want to sell games as many
I don't
people
think
as
it is
possible.
because that's their draw, that's their PR. Like that's what they thrive on. That's what their sales are built on. That's their base.
I agree with Crow. Like, I think it's okay to have the games.
What if it was
because that's
timed
what I
exclusive? After a year, they released an easy mode for all the people who couldn't beat it.
Yeah, but that's what they did with Dark Souls. The original Dark Souls was like there was a certain level of difficulty, and then so many people were complaining about it that they nerfed the whole game after like 6 months.
See, now that's breaking the game. I don't think they shouldn't nerf it. They should just make an easy mode.
Well, and here's the other catch about it.
Then it doesn't stay hard anymore. You can't.
Right.
The other catch
it wasn't as hard anymore.
Is like the other thing too is that like they're to put it in easy mode, they would have to change fundamentally more than just like the amount of damage you do or the amount of like damage you take. Right?
Well, you know,
it takes more than that.
In the first Dark Souls, they nerfed like the enemy hit points. They nerfed enemy speed, and then they boosted your attack powers.
Yeah.
And stuff like that, and so it just made the biggest one for me was like the enemy speed, because I remember like the first time I fought the gaping dragon, like he was on your ass, like there was literally like no point. It was literally really hard to like get to points where you could turn around and then attack him. But then like after they nerfed it, it's like he's so slow when it comes to the amount of time between his attacks, and then even him moving. It's like it was just completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then
I guess that's not the point I was arguing. Is not saying do that.
I'm okay with having like From Software making games that are hard and not having difficulties, because it's like only because not a lot of people are doing it, and like you said, like it's their shtick, and like let it be their shtick, and it's like it does at the same time. Like I do feel for the people who can't play it and can't complete it, like. That does suck.
Especially like, let's say you're a fan of like that time period.
But you know what? I'm being considerate. But go play Tenchu, because they made Tenchu games too, and they're not as hard.
True.
But it's like, after a year, I say go ahead. If there's people who are really griping about it and stuff, or like people who really want to play, just nerf it down, put it in easy mode or something after a year. But it's like. I'm going to be considerate to people who have disabilities and stuff, but it's like be considerate to gamers who don't as well, you know what I mean?
That's fair.
Just because it's like, you know what, I want games that are really hard, and if you're only giving me one developer and one game that comes out every 2 years, that's like up to the difficulty that I want to, like let me just have that, and you can, you know what I mean? You can play anything else and anything and everything else.
That and again, I've also seen on the topic of like disabled gamers and their accessibility. There was a disabled gamer who came out in defense of Sekiro and said like, no, like I earned this, right? You know, and I make my, you know, and I don't want to even like paraphrase because I didn't see the exact quote, but it's like I can understand where he's coming from, because you don't want to feel like people are making things easy for you just because you're different.
Yeah.
And if you're a disabled gamer who only has like one hand, or maybe even only has 2 fingers,
right,
and you make the effort to beat Sekiro with only 2 fingers, for example,
right,
then that's a heck of an accomplishment, and you want to have that. That's true. So like using disabled gamers as an argument to throw in an easy mode, to me feels a little bit kind of condescending in a way.
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it, but
I've just seen the Super Bowl commercial for that controller. Is all I'm saying. So.
At the same time, it's like, but I'm gonna stick with what I was saying. Is like I'll be considerate to them, but it's like be considerate to me too. Is like, you know, because it's degrading to have a game that's like you beat on like nightmare difficulty or something,
right?
And then to somebody come up and be like, well, I beat it too on easy mode, and then it's like, okay, well that doesn't mean anything, and then they're like, okay, well I still beat it, and then it's like, fair enough, I guess. But
Yeah.
it's like, you know what I mean? So you don't get it.
And you know,
It's not
the real irony of this whole conversation is that we're talking about a game that actually has a hard mode and a harder mode if you ring the demon bell.
I did ring the demon bell.
Yeah, if you ring the demon bell, it makes the
You
game
better.
I think you have to.
You're the big dog over
I think
here.
you have to use the item though.
No, you just have to ring the
All you have
bell.
to do is ring it.
It makes everything.
What is the harder mode?
It just adds like more resilience to the mobs, and it also.
Well, how do
adds,
you
like,
get the hard? You said there's a hard mode and a harder mode.
Yeah, you ring
Yeah.
the bell and it makes it harder.
But can
Yeah.
you ring it twice?
Ring the giant demon bell to turn on harder mode, and then you can ring it a second time to turn it off.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know you could turn it off. Because it gives you the item. You get like an item.
But now if
Yeah.
you beat it without it being on, it's basically a middle finger to all those people who beat the game with it on, and they were like,
Well,
I beat
it's
the
on.
game, and you're like, I beat it too. They're like, did you ring the bell? And you're like, a little bit. They're
Well, I
like,
did
well,
ring
fair
it.
enough,
I
but
did
you
ring
know
the
what?
bell. Yeah. So I did ring the bell.
Good.
So that's how I've been playing it. No wonder I've been so pissed off. I'm gonna go back and ring it again.
Oh my god!
Well, I thought you were gonna say it's funny that actually the whole game is about a disabled person.
Oh well, that's that's technically
Sekiro,
true.
Yeah, Sekiro only has one arm.
Technically
The
true.
irony.
You know what's really funny is I actually saw a video where somebody beat the first Genshiro the first time you fight him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to hear what happens?
Oh yeah. Nothing. Basically.
Yeah, nothing.
Because you're not
There's
supposed
a
to.
little.
I
there's one of those
watched
little-
the video of him
Yeah,
do it.
there's the little raven.
It's just like
and
with.
he hits you with he stuns
Yeah.
you with a shuriken and
Yeah.
then Genshiro gets up and cuts your arm
Yeah.
off.
Isn't that like
And walks away.
with Bloodborne? Like, you weren't supposed to beat that first boss there either, the wolf that was in the labs.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it the same thing? Like, if you beat that, it didn't really do anything either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the only difference, the key difference being that like the wolf was really just a wolf,
Right.
whereas like Genichiro is like a legit boss.
Oh.
And and like you fight him like first thing practically in the game.
Oh.
Well,
Gotcha.
there's the one in Demon Souls you fight like some kind of giant fat like boss, and you can kill him, but it's like you literally it takes you like 45 minutes
Yeah.
or something because the damage that you're
Come
putting
on
out
now.
is like
He's
so
not
low.
fat, he's thick.
Well, he takes up like half of the room that you're in.
It was
extra
really,
thick.
it was really fun though, and like really rewarding to watch that guy actually like kick the crap out of Genichiro
Yeah.
in that phase, because it's just he's such a punk. It's like you really want to see him lose.
Yeah.
But
He's
that's the
such a
thing, though, too, is like you really don't understand the concepts of the fighting. I don't think at that point in the game.
No,
So
you're
it's
not
like-
supposed to.
But you know what? You should get something.
Yeah.
Like it should give you something like really dope.
Yeah, but you know, like at the same time,
A ring in
like,
the demon bell.
at the same time though, that's totally a From Software move.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, you can beat this guy if you want to put in the time and effort, but you don't get anything out of it.
Somebody was telling me about another game where you can defeat the boss, or it's one of the Final Fantasies maybe, or the.
Far Cry 3?
No,
Far
but
Cry
it's like
4.
it basically asks you if you want to do the tutorial, and you can say no, and they're like, "Are you sure?" And then you say yes, and it puts you into like you go and fight the last boss
What?
or some shit, and like there's no way in hell you can beat him, and then they're basically you die, and they're like, "Yeah, you probably should have done the tutorial," but then they just send you back to the beginning or something. But it's like
that's
they're
excellent.
basically like, "Are you sure?" And you're like, "Yeah, whatever." Like, and then,
Forced tutorial.
yeah, well, and then they make you fight the final boss with
The whole game was a tutorial.
Yeah,
Joke's on
completely.
you.
Yeah, so that's really hard, and then I guess so. Going back to our question of the week too, is Sekiro better than Devil May Cry 5? Do you want to give us your review, and we'll let you know.
Yeah, so this is my first review of a game, so go easy on me.
Welcome to the club.
But I'm going to be reviewing Devil May Cry 5. And where to start with this game? It's quite the game. I guess we'll start. So far, I was just
Can you kill? Is there a boss that kills you no matter what in the beginning?
no. There's
I
not.
guess Sekiro's better.
Fair enough. Yeah, it probably is. I don't know. It's just, I guess, forewarning or for reference, I'm playing on a PS4, the base version, not the Pro.
Yeah.
Um,
Are you also playing on easy mode?
is there easy mode? I was playing on normal. I don't think there's actually. I don't remember if there was. I think I put on normal. I usually play on normal. If there was a normal mode, that's what I put it on.
We're just questioning how credible your review is.
Yeah, I didn't play it hard. That said, I did spend quite a lot of time mastering the combat in this, so because it was difficult. I'm not used to these kind of games. I'm not into fighters very much, or combat-based games in general. Yeah, so this was new to me. The graphics were awesome. It runs off the Resident Evil 2 engine, so
Oh, really?
yeah, the facial animation was amazing. Cutscenes were all rendered in engine, so like it basically looked like a straight up, like the whole thing looked like a movie pretty much. It's really well done. It did tax my machine a little bit because my fan was revved the whole time.
Really?
Yeah, big loud fan. But from what I saw, there was no real pop in or anything, and they seemed like pretty solid frames. So it was pretty good in that aspect. I personally really liked there was cutscenes like every 5 minutes. Yeah. So it's like you play through a small level, and then there's a big cutscene that's about as long as the level was, and then you play through. And so some people probably would take issue with that, but I thought it was awesome because the story is bonkers. Yeah. Like I haven't played any of the other Devil May Cry, so I had no idea what was going on coming into it. There's a little quick 5-minute intro that's literally all just text. That's like, I tried to watch the thing, and it's like name dropping left and right, and like of these it would basically sound like an anime storyline, like all the crazy stuff that's going on, and the betrayals and the switcheroos, and
I think they try to put it in context for the timeline of the series, because there's a couple. I think I know one of the game jumps away from the time. Yeah. So one of the game kind of goes
1 and 2, were in order, and then 3 was a prequel, I believe, and then 4
I think
was a sequel to 2, and then 5 came in after 4. Yeah. So 4 and 5 were kind of like right in order. Yeah. So it's nuts. I mean, it basically, this one had 2 of the old characters returning. It had Dante and his younger cousin Nero. Yeah. And then Nero is accompanied by some crazy girl, Nico. She's got the van. Hilarious. Like, the dialogue is top notch. I love it. It's just so like Japan bonkers. Like, it's just tongue in cheek the whole time, and it's hilarious. And she's just like totally scantily clad and like bending over to grab your giant. So you have a prosthetic arm that becomes a weapon. It's called a Demon Breaker, and she's like in the van crafts these things. So you get her materials, and she can build you new different arms that you can attach, and that changes the combat, because that's like part of the shtick with him, is that she builds you these things. So
is there anything you're gonna say?
It's a very strange coincidence.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't think about it till now either, but because that's how Sekiro is.
Is it?
Well, because you have the prosthetic arm that you can put different attachments on.
That's
similar
hilarious.
to the Demon Breaker that Nero has.
Yeah.
But also Nero is the only playable character
that has that.
Breaker.
Correct. Yeah. So there's 3. The ones that I've played so far, I don't know if there's anything more. I made it to level 11, so that's just about halfway through the game. Yeah. So you have Nero. You have the new playable character V, who's mysterious and very emo-esque. Yeah. He's got. I almost think he has like a slight autistic vibe, because he's always like, he never looks anybody in the eye, and he's very like deliberate, but. Does he have like a comedy? Is there like kind of? He's the more like, it's totally like anime. He's like the more serious, like all the dark plots are like unfolding around him. So he's not as funny, and like it's funny to see him interact with Nico, because she's like trying to be funny, and he's just like shutting it down. Yeah. And then the last playable character is Dante, who I guess I'll break down the combat and then go through the characters one at a time. Like combat, each interaction that you have with the enemies they give you a rank, so you can rank anywhere from D all the way to double S or triple S, I think, which is basically if you're comboing and varying your style. There's a whole bunch of different ways that you can, like with Sekiro, that you can attack from different ways and use different strategies. If you're keeping it varied and you link the combos and you don't take any damage, you're going to get these awesome combos. Yeah. So, and that's, if you want to platinum the game, you have to get all all S ranks across the board.
In every combat situation?
Not every combat situation. So what happens
But in
is
the level, at the level.
yeah, the whole level, at the end of the level, it'll give you an overall rank, and you can boost those with like combos that will give you doubles on here and
Which
there.
is something similar that Capcom did in Resident Evil.
Yeah.
At the end of the Resident Evil game. It has like the same ranking
Yep.
system,
Yep.
but they do it level to level.
Yeah.
Which has always been a thing.
Yep.
in
So
Devil May Cry.
so that's basically the concept there. And then as far as progression goes, you buy new skills with, I forget what they call it. There's like these red crystals that are throughout the level, and it's very like Ratchet and Clank kind of style where like you'll knock the stuff around the level and it'll explode and you'll get these
I
red
think they're
orbs.
just red orbs.
Yeah. So you just
or they might be blood orbs.
blood orbs, yeah, something like that. So you acquire those and then you can buy new skills and
Now, when you get blood, or is there at any point like a time where you had to make a decision to power up V versus powering up Nero versus powering up Dante?
so the blood orbs that you collect are androgynous of characters. So that basically, if you collect them with Nero, you'll be able to use them with V and vice versa.
Right.
So
But
it's a
does it-
shared pool, but
Right.
while you're playing the character, you only get to select for that character
Right.
what you want to level up. And there's different like avenues like.
But technically, though, you could have a stronger Nero than Dante.
Yes.
Or you could have at least a more progressed.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
And some of these are like it seems like they're just there to kind of like drain your money.
Yeah.
Because there's some really high-end combos. Like there's one where you're supposed to, like you can use, it's called I think enemy step, where you basically jump into the air and then you can attack them. And it's one of those things where like you shoot them and they'll stay in the air. So you want to keep them and juggle them in the air. And you can jump off of their face and then grapple them with like a grappling hook and then like keep that going and keep the combo going. So if you once you get that, it's very easy to chain combos.
Yeah.
And with Dante, with his Devil Breaker, he's got one that, or he's got it's
Nero?
a sword. Yeah, I'm sorry. With Nero, he's got this sword that I forget what it's called, but it basically has like a motorcycle. It's got an engine built into it, so you have to rev that up, and you can just sit there and rev it, and it'll pop on your gauge, like it'll have like an exhaust that's got flames coming out of it, where you can then do a stronger combo.
Yeah.
But I had found out that whenever you attack an enemy, if you pull the left trigger at the right time while you're landing the attack, it will instantly pop that. So you have to, and it took me forever to figure out the timing on that. I had to watch a video to see, and once someone was like, as soon as your sword is about to connect, that's when you want to pull it. Then it clicked, and it was easy, and it was chaining combos left and right. So that was really cool. There was one Devil Breaker that's nuts. It's like it looks like a rocket that you could shoot out, and then you call it back, and you can jump and ride it, and like you're just you'll ride it around like a skateboard, and like it'll punch somebody in the face and throw them in the air, and you ride it up and like bash them and like kick them and hit them with the sword in midair.
I did see, because I played the demo and they had 3 different kind of Devil Breakers, and I was like, man, these are really cool.
It was so over the top and awesome.
So who was your favorite? Are you going to about to get into characters?
Yeah.
So who was your favorite character though?
I liked them all, man. They were all so cool, and they were all so varied in the combat. So I pretty much laid out how Nero was, but then V, he's totally different. And I had a hard time with the combat with Nero for a while.
Yeah.
Switched over to V, and I was S all over the place because he's got a falcon or like some raven type demon that he can spawn out of midair, look like a shadow, and he's got this like panther looking thing that does this. So it was basically, because with all characters you've got like a melee attack and you've got like a distance attack. So he had his panther that was the melee with like a barbed tail, and then he's got his falcon that could do like electric strikes from distance. So it was really interesting having them kind of be autonomous, but at the same time controlling them in a way, and you're kind of standing away. But what they would do is they'd weaken the enemy, and you'd have to come in with your cane and just like shatter them. They'd like freeze once they were.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you had to finish them off with your actual character. It was really interesting combat. I've never
Because I
seen
knew that was
something
that was the big thing with B, is like he's kind of a wimp.
Yeah, kind of.
Like or I don't know if he's a wimp or if he's supposed to be so old and just so weak, I guess, or something.
He was young, yeah, but he was. There's a story that unfolds around that, so he's definitely enfeebled right now.
Yeah,
for sure.
is the
And
thing.
he looked sick.
Yeah.
You could tell.
So did you get to play it as his ultimate thing?
I didn't make it that far, but I'm guessing it later on you do. But you can also bring down this like golem thing that is your special.
Yeah.
That you can level up. You could even ride him at some point, but he's autonomous and just kind of attacks while you're controlling the other two. So you spawn him, and that's pretty cool. So that was awesome. And then as far as Dante goes, his combat was epic too. He has like gun. It's so varied.
Ebony and ivory.
Yeah, he's got the ebony and ivory revolvers. He's got a shotgun.
Yeah.
He's got this weird sword thing that starts out that's like a demon, like a shard of a
supposed to
demon.
be Sparta?
Yeah, it's Sparta. That's what it. Yeah, the Sparta.
That's like his classic sword.
Yeah, that's from the other games, and V was after it, and then he's like, I can't wield that, but Dante can, and so he gets that and brings it to him, and it's funny because there's like a throwback where he like all of a sudden betrayal style goes to stab Dante, and it's like a throwback to earlier games because I watched a recap now where he got stabbed with his sword in an earlier game, and I was like, oh, that's a nod to earlier games. That's cool. Betrayal, but it's not really a spoiler because things happen. So, and so then that sword gets upgraded into like the Demon Dante sword, and it's even more epic. You like infuse with your sword, but the combat was really good on that too.
That was what was interesting though, is when you're talking about Dante getting the shotgun, it just makes me think of Devil May Cry 1.
Yeah.
And then like how cool the first Devil May Cry was, like, because it was it felt very Resident Evil still.
Right.
And so like when you start to get those weapons, and like it feels so cool just to like to have gotten the shotgun.
Right.
And when you do, like some people will know, but when you go to the first, you fight the big spider and you have like ebony ivory, but then you have the shotgun too, and it's just like it's just it was such a cool thing. Like,
so it was cool because like you can on the D-pad you switch around between your guns, your melee, and there's a third one that it's like Royal Guard, which is more of a defensive stance, which no one would typically use because it's like if you get hit. But it turns out that if you block at just the right time with the Royal Guard, you can then counterattack, and it does big damage. So it's like it's worthwhile to actually use defense as an offense there, which I thought was super interesting. And then it's got the Trickster version, which is just like kind of you hop around and it's more mobile, I guess. So it's interesting. If you're running up, you're going to hit the D-pad to switch, and then you vary between your sword, or there's one weapon that's like a motorcycle that is in two pieces, and you actually use the wheels. Like you rev up, it's like you're riding this motorcycle, and then you like pop it into and hold on to two pieces of it. Yeah, and like you're like burning out on these demons' faces. It's so epic. Yeah. So you switch between the various things on 4 different. It's very, very in depth, and it was very satisfying. And I was, as someone who doesn't play these, able to pick it up pretty easily, and it just felt good. Yeah. So overall combat was good.
You played like God of War, haven't you?
I have, and it's similar, but this one was just way deeper than that. Yeah. But it did feel God of War, and like you'd get green and red orbs and stuff like that.
It's all about the style in Devil May Cry, man.
Yeah, I mean, well, and as far as the enemies go, they were super unique too. Like, I loved the enemies. They were all very, very diverse. There was a bunch that like looked like bugs, and then there was one that was super creepy that looked like it almost looked like one of those. It looked like I want to say like a demon, or like a shadow, a black shadow that was just like a ghost, but it had like a white face, like those faceless masks, and it had giant scissors, and it would like swoop at you. It creeped me out. So yeah, all the enemies, just every level was something different and creepy and really well done. So
yeah, that's what I heard. I heard a lot of that too. Was that the actual enemy design and stuff was done
top notch,
it was really done.
Loved it.
A lot of thought. Yeah.
Yep, and then each level had its own bosses, which had also unique design, and they always had their weak spots, and they made it obvious, but not too obvious. But and every boss fight felt different and varied, so it wasn't like just redoing the bosses over and over again. Although I know later in the game there's actually like a boss gauntlet where you replay. So there's a little bit of recycling there, just right at the end.
Yeah, I think usually they have like another game type where it's kind of like a survival mode.
Yeah.
And usually you'll kind of play through with it was always Dante.
Yeah.
And then you would just kind of like you basically be in the gauntlet.
So they didn't have that, but they just released that last week as DLC.
Oh yeah.
Where you go through the gauntlet and there's like 101 levels of the tower that you go through, so very similar. So yeah.
Well, the one thing you were talking about with like the bosses and stuff was like that I saw someone else talking about was a lot of them have like armor, and you kind of like if you beat up on one area, you can start to like break down the armor in that area
On
and then
certain
expose
bosses.
their weak points.
Yeah. So exactly. It made it very obvious when that was happening, and you definitely there was bits like that it felt very. You had to like get through their defenses first, and then you could start making progress. But at no point did you ever feel like you weren't sure if you were making progress. They did a good job of like you can see that their armor's breaking a little bit now every time you hit it, and it's obvious that you're making progress.
I feel like the Devil May Cry games mostly they're like pretty linear, so it's like kind of hard.
Yeah, and so
like you're not.
that kind of brings me to the level design, which was very linear. Was almost to a fault, but not really. I guess When I was looking around, it makes you want to explore to find those red orbs, and it kind of irritated me because I usually have a very high sensitivity, and so it felt like it was dragging around when I'm trying to look, but I eventually got used to that, so that went away, so that wasn't a big deal, but the levels were, again, they all felt different from level to level. The environments were completely different, but they were all very linear. There was a couple times that I was infuriated because it's like there's one where you're going like a dilapidated building and you're going through this skyscraper and you jump up and you try and there's like a purple orb, but I like went to look around to try and before I grabbed the purple orb and the thing fell down and I couldn't get it anymore and I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So they really want to keep your momentum going. They're designed to just keep you moving.
I think when I played the demo, one of the first things I did was turn the sensitivity down because I thought it was like by default really high.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I turned mine up and it was still too slow.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
But I
maybe I was thinking. I thought because initially you said it was really fast, but maybe it was Sekiro that I turned it down initially.
Yeah, probably because the looking around on this was just like it drags because it's more like lock-on type style. And there were a few invisible walls, so that kind of made it feel a little dated. It's like, okay, well.
What I thought was hard was sometimes there's like a lot of tight corridors, and it's like you have because of the amount of distance you have between the player and the camera.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes like if you go to like look around and then you get pushed.
You get a little wonky.
Well, you just get super pushed and it's just like...
I never really had too much of that. There was just a little bit of that, but a lot of these levels were more open than that. So I didn't really have too much of an issue with that.
I think it was just in the beginning, or at least the demo, like you're in the streets.
Yeah.
And you're like, so you're between buildings and stuff, and it gets kind of like,
Yeah, I didn't really have too much of a problem because the lock-on feature kind of gets around that. I never had a problem where it was like, I can't see what I'm doing. So that felt good. And then I guess, let's see what else. Oh, the lore, as you know, the whole plot of this thing for a newcomer was fairly confusing. I would have liked a little bit more in-depth tutorial. I guess like watching a 15-minute like the lore of the past 5 games is well worth it if you're going to play this game.
Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of where they're at though, being in the 5th like installment.
Right.
You know what I mean? Is like there's a big backstory right now.
Right. Because I'm thinking like.
I think they probably did try to summarize it in the beginning, but when you know nobody.
Right, it was just so many names and like the order and this person from this group and then this betrayal happened with this demon. And
did they actually like kind of address what game it happened in, or not really?
No, they just laid out the entire plot as like here it is, take it as it is.
It would have been nice if they would have maybe like
game to game
Devil May Cry 1.
Right.
But then like you kind of like as a narrative you're breaking like the 4th wall or whatever.
Right. Well, they kind of did that anyway because they laid
they
it all
should have
out.
done it the other way.
Yeah, they should have. But
like a Devil May Cry 1, this is what happened.
So it still was fun to just jump into, and I totally had enough. The scenes were outrageous enough that I didn't care that I didn't know what was going on. It was still fun. So I just wanted to know who is this V guy? What is he up to? And who are all these characters in relation to each other? What is their backstory? Like, who are you to him? Because you obviously have some sort of history here that you're referencing. So
yeah, I really wanting to pick it up when it goes on sale or something, and then tough through it.
I mean, and then lastly, I guess the music. I played it with surround sound. The surround sound had a really wide sound stage. It was awesome. So as far as music goes, all the sound effects were pretty above average, but close to average. And then the last thing I guess I want to touch on is there's multiplayer and there's microtransactions in this. The microtransactions I didn't think really broke the game too much. There's these coins that you can. They're like yellow orbs that you can basically collect throughout the level, and they're like your extra life. And I was like, how does that work? But really what it does is it just allows you to come back if you die at any point. It allows you to just respawn right there. So the first boss, I made it all the way till it had a sliver of health left, and I died. And I used one of those things. I came right back and didn't have to do the entire boss fight over. And I was like, thank you for the time saver. Awesome. You can buy those. So it's like, well, I only used one in the 11 levels that I played. As soon as I got used to the combat, I didn't die again. You know what I mean? So that was good. But I guess once you play with Dante, you unlock this thing called the Faust hat, which you can put on enemies. And I guess it's a game-breaking thing because you can kill bosses with one shot. Because you can, when you're wearing the hat, you can like summon all your red orbs that you've been collecting. And accumulate them and rain down meteors out of the sky that will one-shot anything. But it will cost you all those orbs that you could be spending on abilities, and you can buy the red orbs. So they can make this game completely, you can just fly through it if you have endless pockets. You can just buy all of them.
But I wonder how much it would cost to like...
Yeah, it's like, it's probably like $10 to do a one-shot like that.
You think so?
Yeah, it's not cheap.
Well,
But the other thing is like, to make up for the fact that it uses so many orbs, you could use the hat to farm orbs as well. So when you put the hat on other enemies, if you attack them, they drop like 10 times as many. They start dropping orbs like it's crazy.
How easy is it to put the hat on people?
It's easy, but the problem is if they get a hit on you, that sucks a ton of red orbs from you. So they can rob you with that so it's like risk reward with that thing. So
it's like Sonic when you get hit and all your coins go everywhere.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, but only worse because it's like these things that don't come cheap and they take a lot of grinding to get. So that's the only thing is like there's potential for. I thought it was really interesting because if you didn't use the Faust hat at all and you just played through the game, you'd feel like this was a normal as Capcom that was done really well with progression. But as soon as this hat comes in, if you want to mess around with the hat, you can gamble with your red orbs.
I think that's nice though, because then but it adds like a difficulty to the game. But like you said, like a risk reward.
Yeah.
You know. So it's kind of like it just adds another layer to the game. You know.
Yep.
Which I actually kind of like.
Yeah. So and then lastly, there's some multiplayer, but it's not really. There's like other characters that sometimes the levels will interweave where there's like a path that you go through, and then there's another path that you'll come to later in the game. And so occasionally you'll see characters on the other end of the map that you can't get to, fighting other things over there.
Oh, really?
Because you're in the same instance of the level playing through separately because you don't actually interact. You can look over there and wave, and that's about the extent of what you can do.
That's cool.
It is. It's just so weird because then they're like, rate these people whether or not they were epic or not. And it's like I wasn't standing there watching them play the game. I was doing my own thing. I didn't even know. At first I thought there was like something going on over there that I needed to get to because it was like, oh, there's some action over there. Let's go get it.
And you can't stop the momentum.
Yeah, and I was like, I can't get over there, and I don't know what's going on over there, but there's definitely death happening over there, but whatever. So the multiplayer, I could take it or leave it, but
I like that though, because and that's kind of like the things when you first played Demon Souls and stuff, and you could like look at the shades of other players dying and stuff, and I was like, man, this is really cool.
Yeah, it's very different type of multiplayer.
and it's not interactive, and it's not competitive.
Yeah.
But
It's just something extra to throw
it's
in
just
there.
cool to see. Yeah, it's cool to see other people playing.
Yeah.
You know,
So all in all, I would say it's one of those games that it's like, while I'm in it and playing it on paper, it looks like it's like, I'd give it a 9 out of 10. Definitely buy this game. It's super fun.
Yeah.
That said, I had it for 4 days, and a couple times during those 4 days, I found myself like not being like, I don't really want to. I don't really want to go play this. Like, I don't want my thumbs to hurt right now.
Yeah.
Like, so it's weird. It's
well,
like,
I think that's a tough thing about renting a game, though, too, is like you feel
obligated to kind of get in there.
yeah, to play because you've rented it for a certain amount of time.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's just me. I think I think it's just because that's not the kind of gamer that I am.
Yeah.
It just didn't call to me. That said, when I was in there, I was really enjoying it. I just didn't have the pull, like, I gotta get back in there. I didn't think about it while I wasn't.
Yeah, see, and like that's the kind of pull that I had with Sekiro, like when I first started and stuff, and like even still now, like I'll be frustrated at points, but it's like I'll have the pull to want to progress.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't know. I think it depends on the player you are, and then I think it depends on the game that you're playing. And so, you know what I mean? I mean, certain games are gonna have different pull for other certain players.
So at this point, for me, I don't think I'm gonna pick it up because I spent $10 to rent it, and it was well worth it. I enjoyed my time with it.
Yeah.
I got about halfway through it. That said, I'm probably gonna watch somebody else like beat it so I can see how the story goes.
Yeah.
Because having gone through and now I know all the lore, like the Dante and Nero, they're like sons of a demon, and like Nero was from the order that like Dante has come to get his sword from, and there's so it's like I understand all that now.
After
and it's
hearing
exciting.
your review, like it really wants to make me play it.
Yeah, the combat is so, if you like combat, this combat is so deep and so intricate and has just a ton of.
I was really into Devil May Cry 1 and Devil May Cry 2.
Yeah, I think you'll really like this. It's butter smooth, the whole thing. It's just so good.
Well, it just sounds like they've added a lot of elements too that make it a little bit different, but they're adding on to what's already been there.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then adding more characters and stuff, because there's been other playable characters in some of the other Devil May Cry games, but
right.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely sounds really interesting.
Yeah, so I would say it's definitely a rent, and if it's your kind of game, it's a buy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I guess overall, because it didn't pull me out, ding it a point, I'd give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
So that's my review.
Yeah. But
my halfway review of the game. I didn't finish it, so if there's something crazy that happens at the end.
Well, see, and that might be the thing, though, and that's like what makes it hard to even listen to like other people's reviews. Sometimes is like people who didn't play it completely. Mostly when people bash a game, is my only time. Is like you can. I don't mind if you praise a game for the amount that you played it.
Yeah.
Obviously, like you can't tell me if you didn't beat it that this is the best story in a video game.
Right.
But my biggest gripe is like if people don't play a game in its entirety or to completion, and then they're like, "This game is shit."
Right.
And it's like, well, you might be missing some things.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? You shouldn't.
That said, how much can you like if you just hate a game through 90% of it and the last 10% is awesome? Like, does that make up for your 30 hours of hating the game?
Sometimes, because there's been, like, at least I know for me, there's been movies that I've watched where I've hated, like...
But that's only 2 hours. That's not a 30-hour commitment.
But you're still in it. I mean, you're still... Yeah, I think... But, I mean, if you get to the point...
Yeah.
I think if you get to the point, and it depends on how good the ending is.
Right.
Like, because there's been times where it's like, you'll play something and, like... You're not into it at all, and then like there comes a twist in the story, or everything that you've done now makes sense to this point.
Right.
And then like you come to this revelation in the story, and you're like, holy shit! All that time that I thought like this sucked and it was dragging, like now it makes me feel so much better that I got to experience and see what those elements of the story, and they make. Like sometimes it's like it just makes you appreciate.
I see what you're saying.
What I mean?
I would put money that that's not the case with this game, because even when it was dragging and I had no idea what was going on, it was still epic. Like
I was talking about
it's-
the thing in general. when
It's so
people-
funny because you can call for your Nico to come through with her van,
Yeah.
and you get to a payphone and you call, and she's ready to come through. You expect her to drive down the road. Nope, she busts right through the bottom of the pavement.
Yeah.
Like, where did you even come from?
Like the
There's the
Shredder,
van.
like Ninja Turtles.
It's like the over the top. Even more every time you call her. It's like, how is she gonna roll through this time?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part, I think, was the joy of seeing the van bust through from somewhere.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I think with games it comes down to there's different factors at play
Yeah.
to determine if you play through halfway through a game,
Yeah.
you can get a feel for whether or not the gameplay is good.
Yeah.
By then, especially,
Yeah.
you pretty much got it figured out.
Right.
The only thing you can't really make a statement on is the story, and
Right.
even sometimes in those cases, you can still kind of tell a story kind of sucks.
Right.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, to what Chris was saying, there have been games I've played where the last bit changed my opinion.
Yeah.
When it came to the writing of the story, the direction of the story,
Right.
and or even made the crappier gameplay worth it.
I see.
And I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I know there have been a couple where I got to the end and he was saying I'm glad I finished it. I saw it through.
Gotcha. Well, I can't speak to that, but I can say so far with this being 8 and 8 as far as all things considered, story and combat and everything. The combat's definitely a 9 or a 10.
Yeah.
So it's this, unless they add some ability or some character that I just absolutely hate, I don't see it going down any notches. It can only go up. You know?
Hey, and that's fine because as a comic book guy, there's a lot of comic books that I watch where it's the artwork is beautiful,
Yeah.
but the story really sucks.
Right.
But I'm just it's worth it just to have these pages because
Right.
they just look so gorgeous.
Yeah.
to
You
me.
just soak it in.
And
yeah.
even in the opposite direction, is sometimes there's comic books or television shows or any animation where and even in video games where the graphics aren't the best,
Right.
but it's you still play it for the concepts or for
Sense of immersion, the
yeah,
atmosphere,
or the story or whatever.
Yep.
And going to kind of what we were saying before is where an ending, the end I guess justifies the middle and the beginning.
Yeah.
I've played a game where I continuously just went down.
Yeah.
And that game was called The Last of Us. I'm serious.
But the thing too though is that even if they drop the ball completely
On The Last of Us?
well no
Yeah, I'll say so.
with DMC with DMC 5 even if they drop the ball completely with the story, it's well at the very least you're getting clearly some useful and fun gameplay. So you get at least more of that. So but the biggest one I think was Mass Effect 3. I think that ending got the most backlash ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because nobody was talking trash about any other part of the game because the rest of the game was great.
Yeah.
But then the ending was oh, it ruined the whole trilogy. Oh, it ruined the rest of the game. Mass Effect 3 sucks in general. And I don't know. But yeah, endings can make or break games sometimes.
Yeah. That's true.
But just to reiterate, the gameplay, as long as it's fun, as long as you're still having fun with it.
Yeah.
If the story sucks at the end.
Well, it's just not every game isn't meant for every player.
Having watched a few of other people's reviews as well, I didn't hear anyone say the ending was ass. So
Hey, well there you go.
DMC
yeah.
or The Last of Us. Do you think The Last of Us 2? We can wrap it up if you want. But do you think The Last of Us 2 is going to be as good as The Last of Us 1?
I'm not even going to acknowledge your existence at this
Well, no, but you realize a lot of
You've really
developers
triggered Bruce here.
have kind of got off the team.
I saw the gameplay.
Did you?
Looks amazing. Looks like
I was
it's
just
going to be
curious.
my easily dethroned Red Dead with the map off.
Really?
Yep. Did you see the trailer? Did you see it?
I've seen the gameplay footage.
It's so good!
It's just more Last of Us, except with a couple more mechanics.
It's so freaking dynamic. It's they wrap around, jump over things and
Oh, they have a vaulting system?
It's nothing.
It grabs someone, like get dragged from under the thing, and then you can like stab someone in the face and shoot them with an arrow, and it's all like so damn fluid every time. There's like no.
Was it a cinematic trailer?
No, it was a live action gameplay trailer, and it was
You have to send me the link because I haven't seen it.
Oh my god, it's so good. I was like standing ovation at the end of it.
I was talking about it with somebody else though, and we were just talking about like how many.
It's the crafting system.
No, but we were just talking about how like a lot of the developers that worked on the first one aren't on the team anymore, and so how is it going to be?
Still,
is it going to be? And it's like the same thing with like the Borderlands games and stuff. It's like, and with Devil May Cry, it's like when you start to get into a trilogy and
the two main guys are still there.
Yeah, I don't know that much about it, but I would just assume after this much time.
Well,
after any amount of time.
At least gameplay wise, they seem to have a pretty good idea of what they're doing to make that good. So like, I mean, the only thing I can really see that would cause a problem for would be, I guess it might be possible that it's more buggy.
They're forcing sexuality into the game.
But also the writing, depending on whether or not the same writers are involved, like that could have an effect.
Yeah.
If they are involved, then like I'm confident it'll be.
Can you just start wearing Last of Us apparel like on the show?
Get a Last of Us tattoo, like you're a fake one.
Get the freaking leaf growing out of the scar.
Do you have any tattoos?
No.
Oh, you should definitely get an Ellie tattoo.
Oh my god. If I'm anything, I'm getting a Dance Dance tattoo. The 4 arrows on the back spread. Hell yeah.
A Dance Dance or Pump It Up?
Dance Dance.
Okay.
The classic.
Yeah. You get the whole pad tattooed on you.
No, I was thinking about maybe on my leg getting the arrow, like, like a note string.
Or like
crossovers.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Because then people could see it when you wear shorts and play Dance Dance.
Yeah.
They can know how serious you are.
I'm super serial.
Or like, well, I guess if your main arrows that you hit with your left leg, put on your left leg in the main.
Oh, that would look cool. Because you see the string. Like if you're a Dance Dance player and you see it, you're like, hey, crossovers.
Yeah.
That's a good string.
You could get a Guitar
or
Hero
spins.
on the other side.
Guitar. No.
Well, because it'll be.
I'm not going totally rhythm game.
It'll be like kind of off, like you only have it on one.
I don't know. That was a part of my life for like 10 years. So
yeah,
it was worth a tattoo, I think.
Yeah,
you should just have a dude in silhouette on a Dance Dance machine with a Guitar Hero guitar.
And the Beat Sabers.
And the Beat Sabers. Like make him like forearms.
Oh my god.
He has lightsabers and also has a guitar rock.
You should just make it be Goro.
Alright, so
like with Goro's body.
So are we done shitting on Bruce now?
I wasn't shitting.
I'm sorry, Bruce.
I was generally being sincere about The Last of Us and its downward trend as a game.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, you can have bad opinions. It's fine.
I don't think it's a bad opinion. I think it's just my opinion.
Yeah. No, I disagree.
Well, I mean, to salvage this though a little bit, I think that
gang up time.
or at least like my interpretation of what he means is that like the game does.
What he means to say is, it's the best game of all time.
Well, no, I'm not even saying that he's saying that it's a bad game. What I'm thinking is that like maybe he just means like the trajectory of like just how dark the game gets. It really does go down.
No.
He hated the final boss because it wasn't a final boss. It was just a bunch of humans. Exactly.
Yeah. No, I don't want to get completely into it, but I don't think the story got any better. I don't think the end of the story I wasn't like super wild about.
You probably
and then
didn't.
Also the progression that you take with Joel, like with the crafting system. What other progression system is there in the game? There wasn't skills or anything.
No, it was just on the fly. It didn't bog you down. It kept the game going.
It didn't keep giving you things.
Well, I think that the Last of Us is really like.
Well, I hated going into it, and then like the what becomes the final enemies in the game are just humans.
Yeah.
And it's like, why can't I get like mutated, like really crazy mutated zombies?
I think that was like the they wrote themselves into that corner
Yeah.
in the narration.
Yeah.
Like, there's really narratively no way that they could have done.
I mean, they tried to keep it as real as possible. With it made sense.
There was
never
like,
a
its
time.
core, it's meant to be like a very human, deep story.
And it's like this totally could have happened if this strain that's a real thing in the world actually was able to do this. This is what it would look like.
I think like the biggest zombie game that I loved before it was like Left 4 Dead. And so it was like I kind of really liked having the regular like zombie army,
right?
But
then having the charger and the jockey,
it's like show me something I haven't seen.
Yeah, that's fair. I get that. I
think coming from my history and experience, and then coming in and playing it,
yeah.
I still enjoyed it. I think I would have personally liked to go in a different direction,
and that's fine.
Yeah. You know, but you know what? I still beat the whole game. So
and I'm sure if it went in a different direction, I would have thought it was garbage.
Oh, you know,
I thought that game was perfect.
A lot of people say like Red Dead 2 is like overrated, and that
doesn't respect my time.
And that like God of War was better, and I'm just like, having played.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I don't really quite see it. I mean, God of War was good, but like
I feel like God of War just ripped off a lot of other stuff, and then I had the God of War title.
I mean, the really. It was definitely a fascinating return to the franchise. The way that they did it.
This is God of War 4, right? Basically.
Yeah, the newest one.
Yeah, but did you play God of War 3?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like God of War 3 sucked in my opinion.
Really?
Like it looked awesome and stuff, but yeah, there wasn't a lot of depth to the game. But no, seriously, but it was a really pretty.
How can you argue?
It was a really good looking hacking slash, but there wasn't. But like compared to the first one, I thought it was like the puzzles sucked ass.
I wasn't a fan of the puzzles in 3 either.
But the puzzles in the first one they were really good.
I just realized
stuff.
Are you sure you're not looking at that with nostalgia vision?
I like God of War 3 just mainly because of like the settings and the fact that they were really cranking down on like the Titan aspect of it.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool.
The Titans were cool.
And I was just like, hey, this is really neat.
But
I like when he took out Helios and ripped his head off and turned it into a weapon. I was like, this is so badass.
I did like the Titans and stuff, but I think like when I got to the end of the game, I didn't feel like that I had played a $60 game. I mean, graphically speaking, yes, but like the narrative and then some of the mechanics and the progression in the game, like I didn't feel super.
Having had played 1 or 2, I went into 3 and I really enjoyed it.
Right, but I had played 1 and 2.
Yeah,
I really liked the.
So you don't know what you're even missing.
Well, no, because I went back and I played I played it on an emulator, so I was able to upscale it to 1080p. But I played 1 and up through the first boss, and it was fun.
Yeah.
And the puzzles were good.
Yeah.
And the boss was like, "Why won't you die, Hydra? Why does the head keep growing back? Yeah. Oh, you gotta nail it with a spike so it can't come back."
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, I just didn't. But I guess I forget kind of why I started to say that. But
well, you were busy shitting on my
we've
favorite
gone off
game.
on like 3 tangents now, so
yeah, that's
okay. Well, let's see how long we can make this the longest episode ever.
I mean, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah,
I'm sure people will listen. You ready?
All right. Well, we're gonna sign off now. Thanks for watching.
Do we do challenge of the week and stuff?
No, we didn't.
No, send us your trash moments. Goodbye.
Yeah, send us your trash moments at the following links in the description. Thank you for watching Epic Trash.